My hands shake as I turn the key in the lock. 18 months since I stood on this porch. 18 months since the funeral. 18 months since I promised myself I would never come back. The door swings open with a sound like a sigh. Everything inside this cabin looks exactly as my mother left it. The half-finished quilt still stretched across the wooden frame in the corner, needle and thread waiting where she set them down. Her reading glasses folded on top of a gardening journal, open to a page titled June Plantings. A coffee cup sits in the kitchen sink with a faint impression of lipstick on the rim, frozen in time like everything else in this place. I should have come sooner. Should have cleaned out her things, packed up the memories, put the property on the market like my father asked. Like my ex-husband Marcus keeps suggesting in his careful emails. The ones where he reminds me that selling would give me financial stability, that holding on to the past is not healthy, that our daughters need a mother focused on the future, not dwelling in grief. Easy advice from a man who left me for someone 15 years younger and never looked back. Instead, I ran, buried myself in work until work buried me, clung to my marriage until my husband found someone easier to love, told myself I could outrun grief if I just moved fast enough. Then my marriage ended, then my job ended, then I ran out of places to hide. Now here I am at 42 years old, standing in my dead mother's cabin with my 2 daughters waiting in the car outside, wondering how everything in my life fell apart so completely. The mountain air smells like pine and rain and something else I cannot name. Memory, maybe. Or regret. I walk through the room slowly, touching things. The hand-carved mantel my father made 40 years ago. The stone fireplace my mother designed herself. Each rock placed with intention. Photographs covering an entire wall. 25 years of life lived in this place. My parents young and laughing, my mother pregnant with me. My childhood summers spent running wild in these woods. My own wedding day. My mother's eyes already showing the first shadows of the cancer that would take her. In the kitchen, I find myself setting out 2 coffee cups from habit. Then I remember, catch myself, put one back. This is what grief does. It lives in your muscle memory, waiting to ambush you in ordinary moments. My phone buzzes. A text from my daughter Sophie. We coming in or what? I type back. Give me a minute. But what I mean is, give me a lifetime. Give me enough time to figure out how to breathe in this space without my mother in it. 3 months ago, my life looked completely different. I was Emma Catherine Mitchell Hayes, Chief Marketing Officer at a tech firm in Chicago, corner office, 6-figure salary, business cards with my name embossed in gold. I had a husband, a house in the suburbs, a carefully constructed identity built on achievement and control. Then the merger happened. They kept the other CMO, the one 15 years younger with an MBA from Stanford, gave me a severance package and a form letter about restructuring. The same week, I watched a 29-year-old get the promotion I had been working toward for 5 years. 1 week later, my husband Marcus told me he was leaving, said he needed space to find himself. Found himself remarkably quickly, as it turned out, in the arms of a 29-year-old product manager from his firm. Apparently, 29 was the magic number that year for replacing women my age. The divorce took 6 months to finalize. I got the house, he got his freedom and his new girlfriend, and apparently his sense of righteousness about the whole thing. His lawyer made it clear that Marcus could petition for custody modification at any time if he felt the girls were not being properly cared for. A threat wrapped in legal language. A reminder that even in leaving, he still had power. My father called the day after the papers were signed. Your mother left instructions, he said. A letter. For when you were ready. I was not ready, but I was also out of options. The letter arrived by certified mail, my mother's handwriting, shaky from the chemo but still recognizably hers. I could not bring myself to open it for 3 days. When I finally did, I read it standing in my empty kitchen at 2 a.m, crying so hard I could barely see the words. My darling girl, if you are reading this, you have come home. I know you will resist. You will want to sell, run, start over somewhere easier. But this mountain has lessons only you can learn. The cabin is not inheritance. It is initiation. Stay 1 month, just 30 days. Walk my garden, read my journals. Let the mountain remember you so you can remember yourself. All my love, Mama. 1 month, 30 days. I can do that, I think. The car door slams outside. My daughters are done waiting. Sophie comes through the door first. 16 years old, and armored in black clothes and attitude. Her hair, naturally brown like mine, is dyed jet black with purple streaks. She has 3 new piercings in her left ear that Marcus certainly did not approve of, and an expression that says she would rather be literally anywhere else on Earth. "This place is in the middle of nowhere," she announces to the room. "No Wi-Fi? Are you serious?" "Your grandmother lived here for 25 years, I say. She survived without Wi-Fi." Sophie rolls her eyes. "Yeah, well, Grandma was from a different century. She was 64 when she died. Not exactly ancient. Whatever." Sophie pulls out her phone, holds it up, watches the signal bars flicker and die. Great. Just great. I am going to literally die of boredom. Dad would never make us do this. "Your father," I say more sharply than I intend, "is welcome to his opinions about what is best for you. But right now, you are here. With me." Sophie's eyes flash. "Because you dragged us here. We did not get a choice." Neither did I. But here we are. My younger daughter, Grace, slips in behind her sister like a shadow. 13 years old, quiet where Sophie is loud, anxious where Sophie is angry. She has lost weight in the past year, stopped eating lunch at school, started having panic attacks in the middle of the night. The school counselor suggested medication. The therapist suggested giving her space. Marcus suggested that maybe I was projecting my own anxiety onto her, that my instability was affecting the girls. I suggested that maybe having your father leave for a woman barely older than your sister might cause some emotional turmoil. And the conversation ended there. Grace does not say anything, just walks straight to the quilt frame in the corner and stands there staring at the unfinished pattern. Her hand reaches out, touches the fabric gently. Then her shoulders start to shake. She is crying. I move toward her, but Sophie gets there first, puts an arm around her sister. "It is okay, Gracie," she says, and her voice is soft in a way I have not heard in months. "It is okay to be sad. I should be the one comforting her. I am the mother. But I have been so hollowed out by my own losses that I forgot my daughters were drowning too." Grace looks up at me with red eyes. "Grandma made this for me," she whispers. "See?" She points to one of the quilt squares where our mother embroidered Grace's name in delicate letters. She was making it for me and she did not get to finish. I kneel down beside them. "We will finish it," I say. "Together." Grace nods, wiping her face. "Can we stay here, Mom? Not just for a few days. Can we stay for real?" I look around the cabin, at the dust and the memories and the weight of 25 years pressing down on everything. At my mother's life preserved like a museum exhibit, waiting for someone to decide what happens next. My father wants me to sell. The property is worth maybe $500,000, enough to dig myself out of debt, set up a new life somewhere, start over clean. A real estate agent from the nearest town has already called twice, eager to list it. There is a development company interested, apparently, something called Hartwell and Associates. The agent mentioned a woman named Hartwell runs the local Homeowners Association. Very professional, knows the area well. Good money, quick sale, easy transaction. But Grace is looking at me with something like hope in her eyes for the first time in months. "Okay," I hear myself say. "We will stay. 1 month at least. See how it feels." Sophie groans. "A whole month? In the woods? With no internet?" "You will survive," I tell her. "Humans lived without internet for thousands of years." "Yeah, and most of them died of like dysentery or whatever." Despite everything, I almost smile. "Go pick your rooms, unpack. I need to sort through some of your grandmother's things." The girls disappear upstairs. I listen to their footsteps overhead, the creak of old floorboards, the sound of windows opening to let in mountain air, the cabin waking up after months of sleep. I pour myself coffee from the pot I made earlier, walk out onto the porch. The view stops me like it always does. Mountains stacked against mountains, layers of blue and green stretching to the horizon. The lake below, mirror still in the morning light, forest thick and wild, untouched by development, exactly as it has been for centuries. My mother chose this spot, saw it on a hiking trip 30 years ago, and told my father this was where they would grow old, where I would learn what real peace felt like, where their grandchildren would understand that some things matter more than money or status, or the approval of people who do not know your name. I never understood what she meant until now. Until I lost everything I thought defined me, and found myself with nothing left except this mountain and the ghost of the woman who loved it. A car comes up the gravel drive, black SUV, too new and too clean for these roads. It parks next to my dusty sedan and a woman gets out. She is my age, maybe a few years older. Perfectly styled blonde hair, expensive sunglasses, a vest with an embroidered logo I cannot read from this distance. She carries a clipboard and walks with the careful precision of someone wearing heels on gravel. "Good morning," she calls out with a smile that does not reach her eyes. "You must be Emma Mitchell." I set down my coffee. "That is me." She climbs the porch steps, extends a manicured hand. "Victoria Hartwell. I am the president of the Pinewood Summit Homeowners Association. I wanted to stop by and welcome you to the neighborhood." We shake. Her grip is firm, but her hand is trembling slightly. "I appreciate that," I say. "Though I am not really in your neighborhood, am I? My mother's cabin has been here long before your development." Victoria's smile tightens. "Of course. Catherine was wonderful. I was so sorry to hear about her passing. She was always very kind to me when I first moved to the area." There is something in the way she says it, a crack in the professional facade. "I am sorry," I say. "I do not mean to be rude. It has been a difficult few months." "I understand completely." Victoria adjusts her clipboard, and I notice her fingernails are bitten down to the quick, despite the perfect manicure. I hate to bring up business at a time like this, but there are some property matters we need to discuss. My stomach tightens. What kind of matters? "Well," she glances at her clipboard like she is reading from a script. "Your mother's garden. It is quite extensive and beautiful, truly. But it appears to have expanded beyond the original property boundaries into community green space. Also, there is a small structure at the road, a little library box, that was never approved by the Architectural Review Committee, and several residents have mentioned the wind chimes can be heard late at night." I stare at her. "You came here the day after I arrived to complain about wind chimes." Victoria's professional mask slips. Her eyes get bright, and I realize she is close to tears. "I know how this sounds," she says quietly. "I know exactly how this sounds, but I have rules I have to enforce. If I do not, I lose my position. And I cannot lose this position." "Why not?" "Because." Her voice breaks slightly. "Because my husband died 2 years ago and left me with debts I cannot pay. Because this job is the only income I have. Because my daughter is in college and my son is in rehab, and if I do not keep this job, I lose everything." The words come out in a rush. Then she stops, horrified at herself, puts a hand over her mouth. "I am sorry," she whispers. "That was completely inappropriate. Please forget I said any of that. I should be angry. But all I see is another woman drowning, grabbing for anything to keep her head above water." "Mrs. Hartwell," I say gently, "I am not your enemy." She looks at me, mascara starting to smudge. I know you are not. But the board, they are pushing me to pressure you. There is a developer interested in your land. My late husband's company, actually. Hartwell and Associates. It is in foreclosure now, but his daughter from his first marriage, Cassandra, she is trying to save it. The board members will get kickbacks if the sale goes through. They want me to make your life difficult until you agree to sell. The coffee in my stomach turns bitter. "And will you?" I ask. Victoria is quiet for a long moment. Then she says, "I should. For my own survival, I absolutely should." But your mother." She pauses. "When I first moved here after my husband died, I was a mess, lost, angry at everything. I was rude to her once, told her that her garden was an eyesore, that she needed to keep her property more controlled. Do you know what she did?" I shake my head. "She invited me for tea, showed me her herbs, her flowers, told me the names of things and what they were used for, told me that gardens grow wild because that is their nature, and trying to control everything is how you kill what you love. Then she gave me a jar of honey and a bundle of lavender and said, 'Grief makes us mean. Give yourself permission to be kind instead.'" Victoria's tears spill over now. She was the only person who saw me as more than James Hartwell's widow. She saw me, and I owe her. "So you are here to warn me," I say, "not threaten me." She nods. "I have to file the citations. It is my job. But I wanted you to know what you are up against. Wanted to give you time to prepare." "I appreciate that. I do. But I am not selling. Not to some developer who wants to pave my mother's garden." Victoria pulls a tissue from her purse, dabs at her eyes. then you should know they will not make this easy. The board, the developer, they have resources. Lawyers, money, influence with the county. And I have a dead mother's last wish, and 2 daughters who need stability for the first time in a year. I will take my chances. She studies me for a moment. Then she says, "You are braver than I am." "No," I say, "just more desperate." Victoria manages a real smile this time. "That I understand." She turns to leave, then stops. "Emma, if you need anything, information, advice, even just someone to talk to who understands what it is like to be a woman trying to survive in a place that wants you gone, call me." She hands me a business card. I take it. After she leaves, I sit back down with my cold coffee and try to process what just happened. A stranger just confessed her vulnerabilities to me, warned me about a threat I did not even know existed, offered alliance despite the risk to herself, mentioned a stepdaughter developer I have never heard of, but who apparently wants my land badly enough to manipulate an HOA board. My mother used to say that mountains make honest people out of liars, that something about the altitude strips away pretense. I'm starting to understand what she meant. The rest of the morning I spend exploring my mother's world. The garden is even more extensive than I remembered. 3 acres at least, spilling down the slope toward the lake, raised beds full of vegetables, herb spirals marked with hand-painted signs, wildflowers everywhere, blooming in chaotic abundance. The kind of garden that takes decades to build, layer upon layer of intention and care. I find her journal in the greenhouse. 25 years of observations. Every plant cataloged, Latin names, common names, traditional uses. Notes about what grew well where, what needed more sun, what attracted butterflies or repelled deer. Recipes for tinctures and teas. Remedies for headaches, anxiety, grief. On one page she has written, "A garden is proof that broken ground can bloom. We are all broken ground. We can all bloom." My throat gets tight. In the afternoon, a truck pulls up. An old Ford, paint faded, bed full of beehive boxes. A woman gets out, somewhere in her 60s, wearing overalls and a wide-brimmed hat. "You must be Catherine's girl," she says. "I am Diane Porter, your neighbor up the hill." She has kind eyes and capable hands, and moves with the confidence of someone who has lived on this mountain her whole life. "My mother mentioned you," I say. "She bought honey from you." "Still does," Diane says. Then she catches herself. "Did. She paid me in advance for a year's worth. Said when you came back I should bring it to you. That you would need the sweetness." She hands me a jar of golden honey, still warm from the hive. "My mother knew I was coming back?" Diane smiles. "Catherine knew a lot of things. She had a way of seeing what was true even when people could not see it themselves." I do not know what to say to that. "She also told me," Diane continues, "that when you showed up I should teach you about the bees. Said they would teach you everything else you needed to know." I know nothing about beekeeping. Perfect. Neither did your mother when she started. Best way to learn is to start from zero. Removes all your assumptions. Why did she want me to learn about bees? Diane's smile deepens. "You will figure that out when you are ready. Come by tomorrow if you want. I will show you the hives." She leaves before I can respond. That evening, I drive into town with the girls to buy groceries. The nearest real town is 20 miles away, but there is a small general store 5 miles down the mountain. The kind of place that sells everything from canned goods to fishing lures to propane. An older Asian woman runs the register. She looks up when we walk in and her face lights up. "You are Catherine's daughter," she says. "You have her eyes." I get that a lot. "I am Sylvia Chen. Your mother and I were in book club together." I did not know my mother was in a book club. Sylvia smiles. "Every Thursday evening at the library. We have been meeting for 12 years. She never missed, even during her treatments. We miss her terribly." "What did you read?" "Memoirs, mostly. Stories about women who survived hard things. Your mother said reading about other people's resilience made her own seem possible." "That sounds like her." Sylvia rings up our groceries, then adds a paperback to the bag. "This month we are reading Wild by Cheryl Strayed. You should join us. Thursday at 7. We are really more of a support group than a book club. Most of us are widows or going through difficult transitions. Your mother thought you might need us someday." My eyes start to burn. "She talked about me?" "All the time. She was so proud of you and so worried." "About what?" "That you were building a life that looked successful on the outside but felt empty on the inside. She wanted you to find something real." I pay for the groceries in silence. Take the book. On the drive back, Sophie sits in the front seat scrolling through old photos on her phone, the ones she downloaded before we lost service. Grace in the back seat reads the first chapter of Wild out loud to herself. Mom, Sophie says suddenly, why did Grandma live out here? Like, really? She could have lived anywhere. I think about how to answer that. She wanted quiet, I finally say. She wanted to live in a place where she could hear herself think. Sophie considers this. Did it work? I think so. She seemed happy here, more than I ever saw her anywhere else. Do you think we could be happy here? Grace asks from the back seat. I meet her eyes in the rearview mirror. I do not know, baby, but maybe we could try. When we get back to the cabin, there is a woman sitting on the porch steps. She is old, maybe 70, with long silver hair and a braid down her back. Her face is deeply lined, and her hands are rough from work. She stands when we approach. You are Emma, she says. It is not a question. I am Gracie Sullivan. I live up near the summit. Your mother was learning plant medicine from my grandmother before you were born. She and I continued that work together. Grace gets out of the car slowly, drawn to this woman whose name she shares. The old woman looks at my younger daughter. You have anxiety, she says gently. Grace nods, startled. Your grandmother knew you would. She made medicines for you, left them in the greenhouse with instructions. Why would she do that? Grace asks. Because she understood that some pain runs in the blood, and some healing does too. If you want, I can teach you what she was learning. The plants, the remedies, the old ways. Grace looks at me, asking permission with her eyes. If you want to, I say. I want to. Gracie Sullivan nods. Good. Come tomorrow. Bring your hands and your questions. The mountain will teach you the rest. After she leaves, Grace is different. Lighter somehow. She helps make dinner without being asked. Eats more than I have seen her eat in weeks. Talks about plants she wants to learn about. Sophie watches her sister with something like wonder. The mountain is weird, she announces. But maybe good weird. That night, after the girls go to bed, I sit on the porch in my mother's rocking chair. The wind chimes sing in the breeze, crickets chorus in the darkness. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls. I pull out my phone, look at emails I cannot answer without internet. LinkedIn notifications about jobs I did not get. Messages from my father asking if I have listed the property yet. And one from Marcus. Just checking in on the girls. Let me know if you need anything. Subtext clear. I am watching. I am waiting for you to fail so I can take them. Then I open the Photos app, scroll back through the past year, pictures of my old life, the corner office, the corporate headshots, my wedding photos, Marcus smiling beside me like we had a future. All of it feels like it happened to someone else. I delete the photos, every single one. Start fresh. My mother's journal is on the table beside me. I open it to a random page, June 14th. The mountain laurel is blooming late this year. I asked it why. It said, some things cannot be rushed. They bloom when they are ready, not when you want them to. I have been waiting for Emma to be ready, to see that the life she built is beautiful but not alive, that success without joy is just expensive unhappiness. I know she will come back here eventually. Women in our family always do. We leave the mountain thinking we can find ourselves somewhere else. We always come back to remember we were never lost. I am leaving everything to her. Not just the cabin and the land, but the lessons, the quiet, the permission to be broken and bloom anyway. I hope she stays long enough to learn. I hope she lets the mountain remember her back into herself. I close the journal before I start crying again. 3 days pass. I clean the cabin, sort through my mother's things, box up her clothes to donate, keep her journals, her recipes, her small treasures. The girls and I fall into a routine, mornings in the garden, afternoons exploring the woods, evenings on the porch watching the sunset over the mountains. Grace goes to Gracie Sullivan's house every day, comes back with plant clippings and careful notes. Her anxiety attacks become less frequent. She sleeps through the night. Sophie spends time at Diane's honey stand, learning the business side of small farming, takes photographs with her phone, builds a portfolio, meets a girl in town, Victoria's daughter Lily. I catch them texting somehow, though I have no idea where Sophie is finding Wi-Fi. On the fourth morning, Victoria shows up again. This time she is not alone. A man in an expensive suit gets out of her car. 40s, carefully groomed. The kind of person who measures success in square footage and stock options. Ms. Mitchell, Victoria says, and her voice is stiff with formality. This is Dennis Pratt. He is on the HOA board and wanted to meet you. Dennis extends his hand. I do not take it. Mr. Pratt, I say evenly. He smiles like a shark. I will cut right to it. We have a developer very interested in your property, Hartwell and Associates. They are willing to offer $800,000. Cash. Quick close. I'm not interested. His smile does not waver. You have not heard the whole offer. They would also cover all closing costs, legal fees, and give you 60 days to relocate. Very generous terms. Still not interested, Ms. Mitchell. He leans forward slightly. Let me be frank. This property is not appropriate for long-term residents. You have 2 teenage daughters. They need stable schools, social opportunities, access to proper health care. What you have here is a retirement cabin. It is not a home for a family. My family, I say quietly, is doing better here than we have done anywhere in the past year. Be reasonable. $800,000. You could buy a real house, closer to amenities, better opportunities for your girls. This is a real house. My mother built a real life here, and I am not selling it to someone who thinks paving her garden is development. Dennis's smile finally drops. You are making a mistake. That is my right. For now. But the HOA has rules, standards. You are in violation of several. We can make things very difficult for you if you refuse to be cooperative. Victoria flinches beside him but says nothing. Are you threatening me, Mr. Pratt? I am informing you of reality. This is not Chicago. We do things differently here. Community standards matter. If you cannot abide by them, perhaps you do not belong. I step closer to him. My mother lived here for 25 years. She never had a problem with community standards. Your mother kept to herself. You are here with children, making noise, disrupting the peace. We have been here less than a week, and already we have complaints. From who? He does not answer. Victoria, I say, is this true? She will not meet my eyes. Dennis smiles again, sensing victory. So, will you reconsider the offer? No. Then you leave us no choice. The citations will be filed officially. You will have 30 days to comply or face legal action. Think very carefully about whether you want to put your daughters through a court battle, especially with your ex-husband so concerned about their welfare. My blood goes cold. You talked to Marcus? We did our research. He seems like a very engaged father, worried about his girls being isolated in the woods with an unstable mother. I take a step toward him. My hands clench into fists. Daniel appears from around the corner of the cabin, where he has been fixing the porch rail. He is tall, solid, protective. I think you should leave now, he says quietly. Dennis looks at him. And who are you? Someone who knows property law better than you do. And someone who will call the sheriff if you do not get off this land in the next 60 seconds. Dennis gets back in the car. Victoria starts to follow, then turns to me. I am sorry, she mouths. Then they are gone. I stand in the driveway shaking with rage and something else. Fear, maybe. The realization that they are not just threatening my land, they are threatening my daughters. That Marcus is somehow involved. That I am in deeper than I thought. Sophie comes out onto the porch. What was that about? I'm not sure yet. That guy was a tool. Language. But yeah, he was. That night, I cannot sleep. I pace the cabin, read my mother's journals, try to figure out what to do. At midnight, I find myself in the attic going through boxes I have been avoiding. One is labeled for Emma when you are ready. I open it with trembling hands. Inside is my mother's wedding dress from her first marriage, the one before my father, the marriage she never talked about. There is also a set of china, carefully wrapped, a small leather journal, and a letter. My hands shake as I unfold it. Dearest Emma, if you are reading this, you have found my secrets. I was married before your father, to a man who hurt me in ways I could not speak about for many years. I fled that marriage with nothing but my life. Your father saved me, gave me safety, love, you. But I never forgot what it felt like to be trapped, to have someone use power against you, make you feel small, convince you that you had no choice. That is why I bought this land, why I built this cabin. Not to hide, but to be free, to have one place in the world where no one could make me leave. I am leaving it to you, because I know you will need it someday. I know you will face people who try to take it from you, who will use rules and threats and legal language to make you feel like you have no power. But you do have power. You have this mountain. You have 25 years of my work protecting it. You have something they do not. You have roots. Do not let them take it, Emma. Fight for it. Not because it is property, but because it is proof that women can build lives that cannot be demolished by men who think they own everything. I love you. I believe in you. The mountain will remember you even when you forget yourself. Mama. I read it 3 times. Then I cry so hard I think I might break. But when the tears stop, something else is there. Something solid and fierce. My mother did not run. She planted roots. And I am her daughter. In the morning I drive to town. Find the library, ask to use their computer. I spend 4 hours researching. Property records, HOA regulations, Tennessee land law, development codes, environmental protections. What I find makes my hands shake. My mother did not just own 5 acres around the cabin. Over 25 years, she quietly purchased parcels all around the development. 200 acres total, small pieces that did not attract attention individually, but together form a ring around Pinewood Summit. The HOA has been building structures, roads, drainage systems on her land, on my land now, without permission, for years. I print everything, pay the librarian for the copies, drive back to the cabin. Victoria's car is in my driveway when I arrive. She gets out slowly. I need to talk to you. Alone. The girls are inside. I nod toward the garden. We can talk there. We walk in silence until we are surrounded by my mother's flowers. Then Victoria turns to me. I lied to you, she says. Or I did not tell you the whole truth. About what? The developer. Hartwell and Associates. It is my late husband's company. Technically, I own it, but I do not control it. It is in foreclosure. If I cannot deliver your land, the bank takes everything. My house, my kids' college funds, all of it. I watch her carefully. So you came here to manipulate me, win my trust, then pressure me to sell. Yes, she is crying now. That was the plan. Dennis and the board, they told me what to do, how to play you. The vulnerability, the shared grief, all of it. But I meant it. All of it. What I told you about your mother, about my husband's debts, about losing everything. It is all true. And I cannot do it. I cannot betray you the way they want me to. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know. Because your mother taught me that integrity matters more than survival. And because I would rather lose everything honestly than win by being someone I hate. She hands me an envelope. These are the HOA's internal emails, the real development plans, the kickback agreements, everything you need to fight them. I take it. What will you do now? I do not know, probably lose my job, definitely lose the company, maybe lose my house. I look at this woman standing in my mother's garden, finally choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. No, I say, you will not lose everything. Because I just found out my mother owned half the land your HOA is built on, which means they have been trespassing for years, which gives me leverage. Victoria's eyes widen. What? I show her the property records. She reads them, starts to laugh, then cry, then laugh again. Catherine, she whispers, you brilliant woman. We can fight them together, I say, you and me. 2 widows against the whole system. Victoria looks at me. I am not a widow, just divorced from a dead man's debts. Close enough, are you in? She takes a shaky breath. I am in. We shake hands in the garden while the mountain watches. 2 women, 2 different kinds of grief, 1 shared fight. That night I call my daughters together. Tell them everything, the threats, the discovery, the choice we have to make. We can leave, I say. Sell to someone else, take the money, start over somewhere safe. Or we can stay. Fight for this place. It will not be easy. There will be lawyers and court dates and people trying to intimidate us. And your father will probably try to use this against me. Sophie and Grace look at each other. Some silent communication passes between them. Then Grace says, Grandma left us this place because she knew we would need it. We cannot just give it away. Sophie nods. Plus that Dennis guy was a total jerk. I kind of want to see Mom destroy him. And if Dad tries anything, I am old enough to tell a judge where I want to live. Language, I say automatically. But I am smiling. So we are staying? Grace asks. We are staying. That night I sleep better than I have in months, maybe years. When I wake at dawn, the mountain is wrapped in mist. I make coffee, sit on the porch, watch the sun burn through the fog until the valley appears like a revelation. My phone has no service here. My career is over. My marriage is over. Everything I built in Chicago is gone. But I have this mountain, this cabin, these girls, this fight. My mother's journal is on the table. I open it to the last entry she wrote. The mountain will remember you when you forget yourself. Trust that. Trust the ground beneath your feet. Trust the women who came before you and the ones who will come after. Trust that broken things can bloom. You are ready now, my darling girl. Even if you do not know it yet, the mountain knows, and that is enough. I close the book, pick up my coffee, look out at the land my mother protected for me. 2 widows, 1 divorce, and a mountain full of secrets. We are about to discover that my mother's garden was not just flowers. It was a map. And what we will find there will change all our lives. But I do not know that yet. Right now, I only know this. I am staying, we are all staying. And whatever comes next, we will face it together. The mountain watches, the mountain waits, the mountain remembers. And so, finally, do I. The first week becomes 2. 2 weeks become 3. We fall into rhythms I did not know were possible. Mornings I wake before the sun. Make coffee in my mother's kitchen using her old percolator. The sound is the same one I remember from childhood. That distinctive bubbling rhythm that means home. I sit on the porch wrapped in a quilt my mother made, watching the valley emerge from darkness. First the tree line, then the lake, then the far mountains, layer by layer like a painting revealing itself. Grace is usually awake before me. I find her in the greenhouse most mornings, notebook open, sketching the plants Gracie Sullivan taught her the day before. She has filled 3 notebooks already. Latin names, common names, traditional uses. Her anxiety medication sits untouched in the bathroom cabinet. She has not needed it in 2 weeks. Sophie sleeps later but works harder. She has taken over Diane's social media, posting photographs of the honey operation, the mountain, the changing seasons. Her black hair is growing out at the roots, brown showing through. She does not seem to mind. Yesterday I caught her without makeup, something I have not seen in a year. She looked younger, lighter. We work in my mother's garden every morning. The 3 of us, hands in the soil, learning what Catherine spent 25 years teaching this land. Grace knows which plants are which now. Sophie has an eye for composition, arranging the vegetable beds like art installations. I just pull weeds and try not to cry at how much this feels like coming home. Victoria joins us twice a week. She arrives in old jeans instead of designer clothes, hair pulled back, no makeup. The first time she got dirt under her fingernails, she stared at her hands like she did not recognize them. I have not gardened since I was a child, she said. My mother had a small plot behind our house, tomatoes mostly. I loved it. Why did you stop? She was quiet for a long moment. James thought it was beneath us. Said successful people hired gardeners. They did not get dirty themselves. I let him convince me he was right. And now? Now I am learning that he was wrong about almost everything. We work in comfortable silence after that. 4 women, 3 generations, rebuilding something broken, 1 plant at a time. The book club meets every Thursday evening in the library basement. 8 women, ages ranging from early 50s to late 70s. We are reading memoirs about survival, about women who walked through fire and came out changed but not destroyed. Sylvia Chen leads the discussions with gentle wisdom. Diane brings honey cakes. Gracie Sullivan tells stories about the mountain's history, about the Cherokee women who lived here before roads and developers and HOA boards. Victoria comes to her first meeting the 3rd Thursday. She sits in the back, nervous as a teenager on a first date. When it is her turn to share, her voice shakes. I am Victoria. My husband died 2 years ago. I thought my life ended with his. I have been trying to control everything since then because control felt like the only thing keeping me from falling apart. But I am tired of holding on so tight. I want to learn how to let go. The women welcome her with a kindness that makes me understand what my mother found here. Not just peace, belonging. After the meeting, Victoria and I walk to our cars together. The night is cool, stars thick overhead in a way they never are in cities. Thank you for inviting me, she says. You belong there as much as anyone. She stops walking, looks at me in the dim parking lot light. I have not belonged anywhere in 2 years. I forgot what it felt like. I know the feeling. We stand there in this darkness, 2 women holding the wreckage of our old lives, trying to build something new from the pieces. The days develop a texture I had forgotten was possible. The weight of soil, the smell of herbs drying in the greenhouse, the sound of my daughters laughing while they work, the taste of food we grew ourselves, the bone-deep tiredness that comes from physical labor. So different from the exhaustion of corporate life. I am healing, I realize one morning. We all are. But peace never lasts. Because while we plant gardens, someone else is planning to pave them over. The woman arrives on a Tuesday morning in a silver Mercedes that looks obscene on our gravel drive. She is younger than Victoria, maybe mid-30s, dressed in a power suit that costs more than most people's mortgage payments. Her heels sink into the soft ground as she walks toward the cabin. She does not seem to notice or care. I am on the porch with a coffee. I do not stand up. Emma Mitchell? Her voice is sharp, used to being obeyed. That is me. I am Cassandra Hartwell Price, Victoria's stepdaughter, James Hartwell's daughter from his first marriage. Something cold moves through my chest. I did not know Victoria had a stepdaughter. There is a lot Victoria does not tell people. Cassandra climbs the porch steps uninvited. We need to talk about your property. I have nothing to discuss with you. She smiles, but there is no warmth in it. I think you do. You see, my father built Hartwell and Associates from nothing. 30 years of work. When he died, he left the company to Victoria in his will. A dying man's mistake, thinking his second wife would know what to do with his legacy. That sounds like a family matter, nothing to do with me. Oh, but it does. Victoria has run the company into the ground. Foreclosure proceedings start next month. Unless we acquire your land and complete the resort development, everything my father built dies with him. I sip my coffee. Sounds like a personal problem. Her smile disappears. Ms. Mitchell, I am trying to be civil, but let me be clear. That land is the keystone. Without it, the resort fails. Without the resort, Hartwell and Associates is worthless. I have investors, contracts, millions of dollars on the line. And I have my mother's garden. Her legacy. Her last gift to my daughters. You will have to find another keystone. Cassandra's eyes go cold. I was hoping you would be reasonable. Clearly I was wrong. You should know I do not lose. Ever. If you will not sell voluntarily, I will make you. She turns and walks back to her Mercedes. The engine roars to life. Gravel sprays as she accelerates away. Sophie comes out onto the porch. Who is that? Trouble. She is right. The citations arrive 3 days later. Official notices from the HOA, signed by the board. Violations for unauthorized structures, garden boundary encroachment, noise complaints, improper waste disposal. 30 days to comply or face legal action. I call Victoria. She answers on the first ring. Did you know about this? Her voice is thick, like she has been crying. Dennis called me this morning, said the board voted. I tried to stop them, but I am just one vote. This is because I would not sell to Cassandra. Probably. She has Dennis in her pocket. Promised him a development contract if the resort goes through. What do I do? Fight. Use the property records, the trespassing evidence. You have leverage. But if I use it, the HOA collapses, and you lose everything. Victoria is quiet for a long moment. Then she says, Emma, I am already losing everything. At least this way I lose it with my integrity intact. Use the evidence. Burn them down if you have to. That afternoon, I drive to town to meet with an attorney. Maya Patel is young, maybe mid-30s, sharp-eyed and sharper-minded. Sylvia Chen recommended her after book club, said Maya handled her mother's estate and did not back down from anyone. Maya's office is above a hardware store. One room, cluttered with files and law books, a single window looking out on Main Street. She offers me tea and listens while I explain everything. When I finish, she sits back and whistles softly. Your mother was brilliant. Do you understand what she did? Bought land. She created a legal labyrinth. The HOA has been building on your property for years. Roads, drainage systems, utility lines. All without easements, all without permission. If you wanted to, you could force them to remove everything. Bankrupt the entire development. I do not want to bankrupt anyone. I just want them to leave me alone. Maya smiles. That is leverage. You do not have to use the weapon. Just show them you have it. I can draft a letter. Make it clear that any legal action against you will be met with counterclaims for trespassing, property damage, and injunctive relief. It will stop them cold. Do it. She starts typing. The sound of keys clicking fills the small office. Ms. Mitchell, can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you fighting this hard? You could sell, take the money, avoid all this stress. Most people would. I think about my mother's letters, about Grace sleeping through the night, about Sophie laughing, about learning to breathe again. Because my mother taught me that some ground is worth defending. Not for what it is, but for what it represents. And what does this land represent? Proof that women can build lives that cannot be demolished by people who think they own everything. Maya stops typing, looks at me with something like respect. Your mother would be proud of you. I hope so. The letter goes out the next day. The response is faster than I expected. Dennis Pratt shows up at the cabin with 2 other board members. One is a thin, nervous man who will not make eye contact. The other is a woman in her 60s, expensive jewelry, expression like she smells something rotten. They stand in my driveway looking uncomfortable. Ms. Mitchell, Dennis starts, we received your attorney's letter. Good. We would like to discuss a resolution. I'm listening. The board is willing to withdraw the citations. In exchange, you agree not to pursue trespassing claims. And you agree to sell within 6 months. We will give you time to find a buyer, help facilitate the process. No. The woman speaks for the first time. You are being unreasonable. We are trying to meet you halfway. Halfway would be admitting you have been stealing my property for years and offering fair compensation. This is you trying to avoid consequences while still getting what you want. Dennis's face reddens. You do not understand the situation. If the resort development falls through, property values in Pinewood Summit will collapse. Do you want that on your conscience? Dozens of families will lose their investments. I did not build on stolen land. You did. That is on your conscience, not mine. They leave angry. I watch their car disappear down the mountain and wonder what they will do next. I do not have to wait long to find out. The next morning, there is an article in the county newspaper. The headline reads, Chicago woman's land grab threatens rural community. The story is a masterpiece of distortion. It paints me as a wealthy outsider coming into a struggling mountain community and using legal technicalities to threaten hardworking families. It quotes anonymous HOA members saying I am difficult, uncooperative, hostile to community values. It suggests I am exploiting my mother's death for financial gain. There is a photograph. Me, taken with a long lens, looking severe and unfriendly. The caption, Emma Mitchell, whose property claims have thrown Pinewood Summit into chaos. Sophie finds the article online, brings her phone to show me, even though we have no service at the cabin. Mom, this is bad. I know. They are making you look like a villain. I know that too. What are we gonna do? Before I can answer, Grace comes running from the greenhouse. Mom, you need to see this. She is holding a small wooden box. Old, hand-carved, dirty from being buried. Where did you find that? Under the rose bush. The big one by the south fence. I was transplanting some seedlings and the shovel hit it. My heart starts to pound. Open it. Inside the box is a folded piece of paper wrapped in oilcloth, a property deed, and a letter in my mother's handwriting. I unfold the deed with shaking hands. It is not for the 5 acres around the cabin. It is for another parcel, 40 acres to the east, purchased in 2001. I flip through the rest of the papers in the box. More deeds, more parcels, all purchased quietly over 2 decades. All surrounding Pinewood Summit. Maya Patel told me about 200 acres, but according to these documents, my mother owned closer to 500. The letter is short. Emma, if you found this, you are looking for ammunition. Here it is. I did not buy this land to develop it or sell it. I bought it to protect it. Every parcel I purchased is home to endangered species, natural springs, old-growth forest. Under Tennessee law, that makes them unsuitable for commercial development. I have documented everything: photographs, surveys, wildlife studies. The folder is in the greenhouse, 3rd shelf from the top, behind the seed catalog collection. This land cannot be sold to developers even if you wanted to. I made sure of that. Some things are more important than money. Some ground is sacred. Fight for it. Love, Mama. I read it 3 times. Then I start to laugh. Then I start to cry. Sophie and Grace watch me, confused and worried. Grandma, I managed to say between laughs and tears. She checkmated them years ago. They never had a chance. That afternoon, I drive to Maya's office with the box and all its contents. She goes through each document carefully, making notes, occasionally shaking her head in admiration. Your mother was not just smart, she was strategic. Look at this. She purchased every parcel that contained a natural spring. Under Tennessee water law, that gives you control over water rights for the entire area. What does that mean? It means Pinewood Summit's water supply depends on springs that flow through your land. If you wanted to, you could shut them down. I would never do that. Maya smiles. You do not have to. They just have to know you could. It changes the power dynamic completely. She pulls out another deed. And this one. This parcel has a documented bald eagle nesting site. Federal protection. Any development within a quarter-mile requires environmental impact studies, federal permits, years of delays. They cannot build the resort. They never could. Your mother made sure of it. Why did she not tell anyone? Maya looks at the dates on the deeds. My guess? She was waiting, letting the development company invest money, time, resources. Then when they were committed, when they could not back out without losing everything, she planned to reveal the truth. That is ruthless. That is justice. These people took advantage of her being quiet and unassuming. She let them think she was harmless. Then she built a trap they could not escape. I sit back in the chair, trying to process it all. What do I do now? You have 3 options. 1, you use this information to force the HOA and Hartwell and Associates to back off completely. 2, you go public, expose their trespassing and illegal development. Watch them collapse. 3, you negotiate. Use the leverage to get what you want while letting them save face. What would you do? Maya is quiet for a moment. Honestly, I would burn it all down. But I am not a mother trying to build a stable life for her daughters in a small community. You have to live here. Think about what that means. She is right. I cannot just destroy the HOA without consequences. These are my neighbors. Grace's friends' parents, the women from book club who have welcomed us. I need time to think. Take it, but not too long. Cassandra will not sit still forever. I am right. 2 days later, the sheriff shows up at my cabin. Tom Bradshaw is in his late 50s, career law enforcement, the kind of man who takes his job seriously but fairly. He gets out of his cruiser looking uncomfortable. Ms. Mitchell, I am sorry to bother you. What can I do for you, Sheriff? I have to serve you with this. He hands me an envelope. It is a restraining order, filed by Dennis Pratt on behalf of the HOA board. Claims you have been harassing board members, making threats. That is completely false. I believe you. But I still have to serve it. You need to stay at least 500 feet away from any board member for the next 30 days. There will be a hearing where you can contest it. This is retaliation. I sent them proof they have been trespassing on my land, and now they are trying to silence me. Tom sighs. Between you and me, I know what is going on. Half the county knows. Dennis and his buddies are in over their heads and they are scrambling. But I have to follow the law. I understand. He hesitates. Your mother was good people. Catherine never caused trouble for anyone. If she trusted you with this land, she had her reasons. Thank you. After he leaves, I sit on the porch, restraining order in my lap, trying not to scream. Victoria calls an hour later. I heard about the restraining order. News travels fast. Small town. Emma, I am so sorry. This is my fault. If I had stood up to them earlier, if I had not been such a coward. Stop, this is not your fault. This is them showing exactly who they are. What are you going to do? I honestly do not know. That night I cannot sleep. I pace the cabin, read my mother's journals, try to find answers in her words. One entry stops me. March 3rd. A woman from the development company came today. Wanted to know if I would sell some of my land. Said they would pay well. I told her no. She got angry. Said I was being selfish, that development brings jobs and prosperity. I told her that prosperity without preservation is just consumption. That jobs are meaningless if we destroy the world our children will inherit. She left angry. I do not care. Some things are worth more than money. Some fights are worth having even if you stand alone. But I am not standing alone anymore. The next day I call an emergency meeting. Victoria, Maya, Diane, Sylvia, Gracie Sullivan, the women who have become my allies. We gather at the cabin, sitting around my mother's kitchen table. I lay out everything. The deeds, the environmental protections, the water rights, the restraining order, the smear campaign in the newspaper. I need advice, I tells them. I can destroy the HOA completely, force them to remove all their infrastructure from my land, shut down their water supply, tie them up in environmental litigation for years. But is that the right thing to do? Sylvia speaks first. What does your conscience tell you? That revenge is not the same as justice. Diane nods. Your mother always said mountains teach patience. Rivers carve canyons not through force, but through persistence. What does that mean for me? Maya leans forward. It means you do not have to destroy them to win. You just have to make it impossible for them to destroy you. How? Conservation easement. You donate the development rights to a land trust. The land stays protected forever. You keep ownership, keep living here, but it can never be developed. Cassandra's resort dies. The HOA has to back off because there is nothing to fight over anymore. And I lose the option to ever sell. You were never going to sell anyway, Victoria says quietly. Were you? I look around the table at these women. Think about Grace sleeping peacefully. About Sophie finding her smile again. About learning to recognize myself in the mirror. No, I was never going to sell. Then make it permanent, Maya says. Protect it legally so no one can ever threaten it again. What about Victoria? If the resort fails, Hartwell and Associates goes under. She loses everything. Victoria reaches across the table, takes my hand. I am going to lose it anyway. The company is already dead. I have been trying to resurrect a corpse. Maybe it is time to let it go. Let James's legacy die, so I can build my own. What will you do? I do not know yet, but I will figure it out. Without compromising what is right. The decision settles into my bones like bedrock. I will fight, but I will fight with integrity. Maya drafts the conservation easement papers. The Tennessee Land Trust agrees to take it on. They will pay me $45,000 a year to maintain the property as a nature preserve. Educational programs allowed. No commercial development. Ever. It is enough to live on. Enough to raise my daughters. Enough to keep my mother's garden growing. The papers are signed on a Thursday morning. Maya files them with the county. By afternoon, the news has spread. My phone, when I drive into town to check messages, explodes with voicemails. Dennis Pratt, furious. You have destroyed this community. Cassandra, cold and threatening. You will regret this. But also messages from people I do not know. Other property owners. Environmental groups. People thanking me for protecting the land. And one message from my father. His voice is gruff. Your mother would be proud. Call me when you can. I sit in my car in the library parking lot and cry. That evening, there's a knock on the cabin door. I open it to find Victoria standing there with 2 suitcases and her daughter Lily. They kicked me out, Victoria says. The HOA board voted to remove me as president. I defaulted on my mortgage. The bank is taking the house next week. Come in. I do not have anywhere else to go. Then stay here. We have room. Victoria's face crumbles. I cannot ask you to do that. You are not asking. I am offering. We are in this together, remember? She and Lily move into the guest room that night. Sophie and Lily become inseparable within hours. Grace shows Lily the greenhouse, the herbs, the notebooks full of plant wisdom. We are a household of women now. 5 of us, 3 generations, building something none of us planned, but all of us need. The next book club meeting is standing room only. Word has spread about what I did. Women from 3 counties show up. Some to thank me, some to share their own stories of fighting developers, predatory HOAs, men who thought they owned the world. Sylvia stands up to speak. Emma Mitchell did what many of us have been too afraid to do. She stood her ground, not with anger or revenge, but with integrity. She showed us that protecting what matters does not require becoming what we hate. The women applaud. I feel my face get hot. After the meeting, a woman in her 70s approaches me. Her name is Margaret. She lives 2 counties over. My husband died last year. Developer wants my farm, says it is too much for an old woman to handle alone. I was about to give up. But you reminded me that old women are exactly the ones who know how to handle things. Thank you. She hugs me and walks away before I can respond. On the drive home, Victoria says, You know what you did, right? Signed some papers? You started a movement. All those women tonight, they were not just thanking you. They were drawing courage from you. I was just protecting my mother's garden. Exactly. And in doing that, you showed them they could protect theirs. Back at the cabin, my daughters and Lily are on the porch with Gracie Sullivan. The old woman is teaching them to identify stars, telling stories about the constellations. Grace sees me, waves. Mom, come look. Gracie is teaching us how to navigate by stars, like the old ways before GPS. I join them on the porch. Gracie points to the North Star, explains how it has guided travelers for thousands of years. The stars do not change, she says. Empires rise and fall, technologies come and go, but the stars remain, same as mountains, same as truth. Some things are eternal. Learning to recognize them is how you find your way home. We sit there for hours, learning the old knowledge. When Gracie finally leaves, she touches my shoulder. Your mother brought you home, she says. Now you are bringing others. This is how healing spreads. One woman, one garden, one mountain at a time. That night, I write in my mother's journal for the first time. Add my own entry to her 25 years of observations. I understand now what you were teaching me, Mama. This was never about the land. It was about learning to stand on ground you believe in, to defend what matters without becoming cruel, to build community instead of walls. You knew I would need this place, not as an escape, but as a foundation, somewhere to plant roots deep enough that no storm could uproot me. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for trusting I would find my way back. I am home now, and I am not leaving. The next morning, Cassandra's Mercedes comes up the drive one last time. She gets out slowly, looks older somehow, tired. I'm on the porch with coffee. I do not invite her up. The resort is dead, she says without preamble. My investors pulled out when the conservation easement was filed. Hartwell and Associates declared bankruptcy yesterday. I'm sorry. Are you? I think about it. Yes. Not because you deserved better, but because I know what it is like to watch everything you built collapse. Cassandra's laugh is bitter. You won. Congratulations. This was not about winning. Then what was it about? Protecting something my mother spent 25 years building. Teaching my daughters that some things matter more than money. Showing myself that I am stronger than I thought. She is quiet for a long moment. Then she says, my father talked about the mountain women, said they had something he could never buy. I hated you for it, hated that he saw value in strangers that he never saw in me. Your father did not see us. He coveted what we had. There is a difference. Maybe. She turns to leave, then stops. For what it is worth, I am sorry. For the threats, the newspaper article, all of it, I was desperate. That is not an excuse, just an explanation. Desperation makes us do things we regret. I understand that better than you know. She drives away. I do not know if I will ever see her again. Victoria comes out onto the porch. That looks civil. It was something like it. Think she learned anything? Maybe. Or maybe she just learned she lost. Time will tell which one sticks. We stand there in this morning light, watching the mist burn off the valley. What happens now? Victoria asks. Now we live, we garden, we teach the girls, we figure out what comes next. That simple? That complicated? She smiles. I can work with complicated. That afternoon, the mail brings a letter from the Tennessee Land Trust. Official confirmation of the conservation easement. The land is protected, forever. Also in the mail, a letter from Sophie's school in Chicago. Her transcripts forwarded to the local high school. She is officially enrolled here, Grace too. We are not temporary anymore, we are home. I walk out to my mother's garden. The tomatoes are heavy on the vine. The herbs are thick and fragrant. The flowers bloom in wild profusion. I kneel in the dirt, hands in the soil, and let myself cry. Not from sadness this time, from relief, from gratitude, from the bone-deep knowledge that I am exactly where I am supposed to be. Grace finds me there an hour later. Mom, you okay? I am better than okay, baby. I am home. She kneels beside me, starts pulling weeds without being asked. We work together in silence, the way my mother and I used to. The weeks that follow bring changes I could not have predicted. Victoria finds work as a property manager for the Tennessee Land Trust. They hire her to oversee conservation easements across 3 counties. The irony is not lost on either of us. The woman who once tried to force me to sell is now protecting land from development. Her first paycheck, small but honest, brings tears to her eyes. I earned this, she tells me that evening. Not through manipulation or James's money or boardroom politics. I actually earned it. You did. It feels good. Different, like I'm building something real instead of propping up something dead. Lily thrives at the local high school. She and Sophie are inseparable. They spend hours in the greenhouse, photographing plants for Sophie's ever-growing social media following. The account now has over 10,000 followers, people from across the country asking about my mother's garden, about conservation, about protecting family land from developers. Sophie has found her voice, not angry anymore, just passionate, focused. She talks about studying environmental journalism in college, wants to tell stories about people fighting to protect what matters. Grace has become Gracie Sullivan's apprentice, in everything but name. She spends 3 afternoons a week at the old woman's cabin, learning plant medicine that goes back generations. She has made tinctures for anxiety that she shares with book club women, natural remedies that actually work. The panic attacks are gone. She eats full meals, laughs easily, sleeps through the night without nightmares. My father visits for the first time since my mother's funeral. He stands in the garden she built and cries like I have never seen him cry. I should have come back sooner, he says, after she died. I should have helped you with all this. You are here now. He wipes his face. Diane invited me to dinner. Is that okay? More than okay. I watch my father, 70 years old, nervous as a teenager about a date. Diane arrives with fresh bread and honey. They sit on the porch talking until after midnight, voices soft, laughter gentle. Two people who have both lost spouses, finding something unexpected in each other. The morning he leaves to drive back to his retirement community in Florida, he pulls me aside. Your mother knew, he says. Before she died, she told me I would meet someone, told me not to be afraid of it, said love does not run out just because someone dies. She was usually right about things. She was right about you too. Said you would find yourself again on this mountain, that you would become the woman you were always meant to be. Did she say what that was? He smiles. She said you would figure it out when you stopped running. The HOA continues to fracture. 3 more board members resign. Dennis Pratt faces a recall petition signed by 60% of the residents. The development company pulls out completely, leaving half-finished infrastructure and broken promises. But something unexpected happens. The residents, freed from the HOA's aggressive leadership, start organizing differently. They form a voluntary cooperative, focus on mutual aid instead of enforcement, shared resources instead of citations. Victoria becomes their coordinator. Not a president wielding power, but a facilitator building community. I watch her lead the first meeting in the old clubhouse. She is different now, confident without arrogance, strong without cruelty. The woman she could have been all along if fear had not turned her into something else. Afterwards, she finds me in the parking lot. Thank you, she says. For what? For showing me that losing everything can be the beginning of finding something better. You did that yourself. No, you gave me the space to do it. The grace. Your mother taught you that. And you taught me. We have become something like friends. More than that, really. Sisters in a way that has nothing to do with blood and everything to do with choosing to stand together, when it would be easier to stand apart. The book club women rally in ways that surprise everyone. Sylvia organizes a fundraiser when the local food bank runs short. Diane donates 10% of her honey sales to a domestic violence shelter. Gracie Sullivan starts teaching free plant medicine workshops at the library. And me? I start writing, at first just journal entries in my mother's book, then essays, then a blog that Maya helps me set up. Stories about protecting land, about women finding strength, about healing through dirt and determination. The words come easier than I expect. Turns out 20 years in marketing taught me how to tell stories. I just needed a story worth telling. One piece goes viral. I write about my mother buying land piece by piece, building a fortress of conservation when no one was watching, about how quiet resistance is still resistance, about how women protect what they love not by being loud, but by being strategic. A publisher emails me, asks if I would be interested in expanding it into a book. I tell Sophie and Grace over dinner. Are you going to do it? Grace asks. I think so, if you two are okay with me writing about our story. Sophie grins. Mom, you have to. Grandma would want people to know. That night, I sit on the porch with my mother's journals spread around me. 25 years of her life. Her observations, her wisdom, her battle plan disguised as botanical notes. I start to see the shape of the book. Not just about land rights or legal battles. About mothers and daughters. About legacy and letting go. About learning that the things you fight hardest to protect are often the things that save you. I write until 3 in the morning. First chapter, then second. The words pour out like they have been waiting years to be released. When I finally sleep, I dream of my mother. She is in her garden, young and healthy, hands in the soil. She looks up at me and smiles. You are doing good work, she says. Keep going. I wake with tears on my face and certainty in my chest. This is what I am meant to do, not marketing campaigns or corporate presentations. This, storytelling, truth-telling, building something that matters. Cassandra shows up one last time 3 months after our last conversation. But this time she is not alone. She has a child with her. A girl maybe 8 years old with dark hair and cautious eyes. I am on the porch. I stand up this time. Emma, Cassandra says. Her voice is different, smaller. This is my daughter, Ivy. The girl hides behind her mother's legs. We moved to Knoxville, Cassandra continues. I got a job as a paralegal, starting over, trying to teach Ivy different values than my father taught me. That is good. She takes a breath. I know I have no right to ask. But your conservation program, the one that teaches kids about native plants and ecology, could Ivy participate? I look at this woman who tried to destroy me, who used every weapon she had, who has lost everything and is trying to build something new from the ruins. Yes, I say, she can participate. Thank you. Ivy peeks out from behind her mother. You are the mountain lady. I guess I am. Mama says you saved the forest. I just protected what was already there. Can you teach me about the plants? I can, or my daughter Grace can. She is better at it than me. Grace appears from the greenhouse, dirt on her hands, smile on her face. She sees Ivy, sees something familiar in the girl's shyness. Want to see the monarchs? Grace asks. We have a whole garden just for them. Ivy nods, takes Grace's offered hand. They walk toward the butterfly garden together. Two girls, different ages, different backgrounds, connected by something as simple as curiosity about the natural world. Cassandra watches them go. Her eyes are wet. I do not deserve this kindness. Probably not. But we are all trying to be better than we were. My mother taught me that everyone deserves a chance to grow. She nods, wipes her eyes. I will bring Ivy every Saturday if that is okay. It is okay. After they leave, Victoria comes to stand beside me on the porch. You just befriended your enemy's daughter. I just gave a child a chance to learn something beautiful. There is a difference. Your mother would approve. I think so. That Saturday, Ivy comes back. Then the next Saturday. Then the next. She is quiet at first, but Grace has patience that reminds me painfully of my own mother. Gentle, persistent, kind. By the 4th visit, Ivy is laughing. By the 8th, she brings a friend. By the 12th, she knows the Latin names of 30 plants and can identify bird calls. Cassandra always stays, helps in the garden, does not talk much but works hard. There is something healing in watching her kneel in the same dirt where she once tried to build a resort. Learning that soil is not just for construction, it is for growth. Book Club adds new members every month. Women from across the region who heard about what we are doing, we are reading different books now. Not just memoirs of survival, but manifestos of resistance. Essays about land rights, indigenous wisdom, environmental justice. The discussions get heated sometimes. We do not all agree, but we listen to each other, learn from each other, build something bigger than any of us could build alone. One Thursday evening, a woman stands to share her story. Her name is Maria. She is maybe 60, weathered face, strong hands. I lost my family farm last year, she says. Bank foreclosed. Developer bought it. They are putting up condos. I drive past it sometimes, and I cannot recognize my own land. Her voice breaks. Why are you telling us this? Sylvia asks gently. Because I do not want any other woman to lose what I lost. Emma fought and won, but I did not know I could fight. I thought I had to accept what they told me was inevitable. I was wrong. Other women nod, share their own stories. Land lost. Gardens paved, heritage erased by people who see Earth as just another commodity to extract value from. We need to organize, Diane says, not just protect our own land, but help others protect theirs. Thus is born the Mountain Women Land Trust, a coalition of women across 5 counties committed to protecting family land from predatory development. We pool legal resources, share strategies, provide support. Maya volunteers to handle the legal work pro bono. Sylvia manages the coordination. Victoria handles outreach. Gracie Sullivan brings traditional knowledge. Diane brings business sense. And me? I tell the stories, document the fights, publicize the wins. Within 6 months, we have saved 4 family farms from foreclosure. Within a year, we have protected over 2,000 acres. The work is hard. Sometimes we lose, but more often we win. And every time we win, more women realize they do not have to surrender what they love just because someone with money and lawyers says they should. My book comes out in the spring. The publisher wants to do a book tour, but I refuse. I do not want to leave the mountain. So we do virtual events from the cabin porch. Readers join from across the country. We talk about mothers and daughters, about land and legacy, about finding yourself in dirt and determination. The book sells better than anyone expected, makes the bestseller list for 3 weeks. I get letters from women who read it and decided to fight for their own land, who refused to sell, who found courage in my mother's story. One letter is from a woman in Oregon. She writes, "Your mother's garden saved my farm. I was about to give up. Then I read how Catherine bought land piece by piece, protected it bit by bit. I realized I could do the same. Thank you for telling her story." I frame that letter, hang it in my writing space. Sophie graduates high school third in her class, gets a full scholarship to study environmental journalism. She defers for a year to work with the Land Trust, documenting our efforts, building our social media presence. Lily graduates too, decides to study ecology at the local university. She and Sophie talk about sharing an apartment near campus when Sophie eventually starts school. Victoria and I watch them make plans, these girls who found friendship in the middle of our war. They are going to change the world, Victoria says. They already are. Grace at 15 is wiser than I was at 30. She talks about studying ethnobotany, preserving traditional plant knowledge before it is lost. Gracie Sullivan, now in her late 70s, has started recording oral histories with Grace's help. Stories about the mountain before development, before roads, when Cherokee women taught settler women which plants heal and which harm. My father and Diane get married in a simple ceremony at the cabin. Two people in their late 60s finding love again, proof that it is never too late to begin again. They settle into a small house halfway between my cabin and Diane's honey operation. My father builds furniture by hand, something he always wanted to do but never had time for while working. Diane expands her hives, teaches workshops on beekeeping. They are happy in a way I have never seen my father happy. Not the contentment of resignation, but the joy of active choosing. One evening, as we all sit on my porch watching the sunset, my father says, "Your mother planned this too, you know." Planned what? All of it. You coming back, me and Diane, the girls healing. She told me once that the mountain has a way of bringing people to exactly where they need to be, but only if they are willing to stop running long enough to notice. She was always 3 steps ahead. He laughs. Try 3 years. She knew this was coming before any of us did. Did she know she was dying? He is quiet for a long moment. I think she suspected, but she was not afraid. She said she had built something that would outlive her. Not just the garden, but the lessons, the protection, the community. She said that is the only immortality that matters. We sit in silence as the sun drops behind the mountains. The sky turns gold, then pink, then purple. The valley fills with shadows. Somewhere down the slope, a whippoorwill calls. This is the life my mother built for me. Not in spite of her death, but because of it. She knew I would need a place to land when I fell, ground solid enough to hold me while I figured out how to stand again. And she was right, as always. The mountain watches. The mountain waits. The mountain remembers. And so, finally, do we? The phone call comes at 6 in the morning on a Tuesday in October. The kind of call that turns your blood cold before you even answer. It is my ex-husband, Marcus. "Emma, we need to talk about the girls." I have not spoken to him in 8 months. Not since the divorce was finalized. Not since he moved his girlfriend into what used to be our house. "What about them?" "I have been thinking. This situation you have them in. Living in the woods with no proper schooling, no structure, no opportunities. It is not healthy. They are thriving, Marcus. Better than they ever did in Chicago." "That is not what I'm hearing. I have been talking to some people. Lawyers. They say I have a case for custody modification." My hand tightens on the phone. "You are threatening to take my daughters." "I am saying I am concerned about their welfare. Sophie should be preparing for college at a real school, not some rural program. And Grace needs professional help for her anxiety, not folk medicine from some old woman in the woods. Grace has not had a panic attack in 6 months because you are medicating her with unregulated herbs. Do you understand how dangerous that is? I understand that my daughters are happy for the first time since you walked out on our family." The line goes quiet for a moment. Then he says, "I am filing the paperwork next week. Custody modification based on substantial change in circumstances. I suggest you get a lawyer." He hangs up. I sit on the edge of my bed, phone in my shaking hand, trying to breathe. This cannot be happening, not now, not when we have finally found solid ground. But it is happening, Because Marcus has always been good at taking things that do not belong to him. I tell the girls at breakfast. Watch their faces go white. Dad wants us back? Sophie's voice is small. He says he is worried about you. But we are fine. Grace's eyes fill with tears. We are better than fine. I know, baby. But he has legal rights. We have to take this seriously. What does that mean? Sophie asks. It means we get a lawyer. We fight. We show the court that you are happy here, thriving here, that this is the best place for you. And if we lose? I cannot say the words out loud. Cannot imagine going back to the empty house in Chicago, to the life that almost killed all of us. We are not going to lose. But my voice does not sound convincing even to my own ears. Maya takes the case immediately, sits across from me in her small office above the hardware store, reading through Marcus's petition with a deepening frown. This is bad, she says finally. How bad? He is claiming educational neglect, medical neglect, unstable housing situation. Says you move the girls to an isolated location without their input, remove them from their school and friends, expose them to unqualified medical treatment. All of that is lies. Technically, it is framing. You did move them here. You did take them out of their Chicago school. Grace is seeing Gracie Sullivan instead of a licensed therapist. Because it is working. Because they are happy. I know that. You know that. But on paper, to a judge who does not know you, it looks questionable. What do? We build a case, get statements from their teachers here showing academic progress, get medical documentation of Grace's improvement, character witnesses, proof of stable income, safe housing, community support. Can we win? Maya is quiet for too long. I do not know. Family court is unpredictable. And Marcus has money for good lawyers. You are running a nonprofit on a conservation easement stipend. So money wins, like it always does. Not always, but it helps. I drive home through tears I refuse to let fall until I am alone. Pull into the driveway and see Victoria sitting on the porch with coffee, waiting. She knows, somehow she knows. I heard, she says. Small town. Maya's paralegal mentioned it at the grocery store. Of course she did. Victoria stands, pulls me into a hug. We are going to fight this. All of us. I do not know if fighting is enough. Then we fight harder. The next 2 weeks are a nightmare of depositions and paperwork. Marcus's lawyer is everything I expected. Expensive suit, shark smile, questions designed to make me look unstable. Ms. Mitchell, is it true you moved your daughters to a cabin with no cell phone service? The cabin has a landline, and we go into town regularly, but no emergency services nearby. What if one of your daughters was hurt? We are 20 minutes from the hospital, same as thousands of rural families. Is it also true you removed Grace from psychiatric care? I did not remove her. She graduated from therapy. Her anxiety is managed through natural remedies that actually work. Natural remedies provided by an unlicensed practitioner, provided by a respected elder with decades of knowledge about medicinal plants. The lawyer smiles. So you admit you are treating your daughter's serious mental health condition with folk medicine instead of proper psychiatric care. I want to scream. Instead, I say calmly, I am treating my daughter with methods that have improved her quality of life more than any licensed professional ever did. He makes a note, moves on to the next attack. It goes like this for hours. Everything I have done framed in the worst possible light. Moving to the mountain becomes isolation. Homeschooling becomes educational neglect. Community support becomes inability to provide stability. By the end, I feel flayed open, exposed. That night, Sophie finds me crying in my mother's garden. She sits beside me in the dirt, takes my hand. We are going to testify, she says. Me and Grace, we talked about it. You do not have to do that. Yes, we do. Because everything that lawyer said today was garbage. You saved us, Mom. You brought us here and we got our lives back. We have to tell them that. What if they do not listen? Then at least we tried. Grace appears from this greenhouse, sits on my other side. We are staying here, Mom, with you, no matter what. They are so young, so brave, so certain in a way I cannot be anymore. I love you both so much. We know, Sophie says. That is why we are going to fight. The custody hearing is set for a Monday morning in family court. I wear the most professional clothes I own. Maya coaches me on what to say, how to say it, what to avoid. Just be honest, she tells me. Let them see who you really are. What if who I am is not enough? Then the system is broken. But you are enough, Emma. Trust that. The courtroom is smaller than I expected. Fluorescent lights, cheap wood paneling, a female judge in her early 60s who looks tired before the day even starts. Marcus sits with his lawyer on the other side. He does not look at me. His girlfriend is not here. Probably decided it would look bad. His lawyer starts with opening statements, paints a picture of a mother in crisis making reckless decisions, taking her daughters to an isolated cabin to escape her own problems, putting her needs ahead of theirs. Then Maya stands, tells a different story, a mother finding the strength to rebuild, creating a stable home in a supportive community, daughters thriving in ways they never could in the city. The judge listens without expression, takes notes, gives nothing away. Then the witnesses start. Marcus goes first, sits in the witness box looking concerned and reasonable. I love my daughters. I want what is best for them. And I do not believe living in isolation with a mother who is clearly struggling is what is best. Your ex-wife is struggling? The lawyer asks. She lost her job, lost her marriage, fled to the middle of nowhere. That is not the behavior of someone in a stable mental state. Did she ever put the children in danger? Not physically, but emotionally, yes. She has removed them from their support systems, their friends, their normal lives. And you believe they would be better off with you? I have a stable job, a stable home, the ability to provide proper education and health care. Yes, I believe they would be better off. Maya cross-examines him, tears his testimony apart piece by piece. Mr. Hayes, when was the last time you saw your daughters? He hesitates. I've been busy with work. That is not an answer. When? 3 months ago, maybe 4. And before that? 6 months. So in the past year, you have seen your daughters twice. Is that correct? I have tried to visit. Emma made it difficult. How did she make it difficult? She moved them 300 miles away without consulting me. Did she violate the custody agreement? He pauses. No. The agreement allows her to relocate with proper notice, which she gave. So she followed the law, and you chose not to visit. But now you want full custody? I want my daughters to have the opportunities they deserve. The opportunities you have not been present to provide for the past year. Objection, Marcus's lawyer says. Argumentative. Sustained, the judge says, but her eyes are sharp now, watching Marcus carefully. Then it is my turn. I sit in the witness box with sweating palms and try to breathe. Maya leads me through my testimony. Why we moved, how the girls have responded, the support system we have built. Ms. Mitchell, why did you move to Tennessee? After my divorce, I was lost. My daughters were struggling. We needed a place to heal. My mother left us her cabin. It felt like she was offering us a refuge. And have your daughters healed? Yes. Grace's anxiety has improved dramatically. Sophie has found purpose and passion. They are both excelling in school, forming healthy relationships, contributing to the community. Do you believe this move was in their best interest? I know it was. I see it every day in their faces. Marcus's lawyer stands for cross-examination. He is less gentle. Ms. Mitchell, you claim your daughters are thriving, but is not it true you took them out of a highly ranked school system and enrolled them in a rural school with limited resources? Resources are not the same as education. Their teachers here are exceptional. Small classes, individual attention. Is not it also true you allowed your daughter Grace to stop seeing her psychiatrist? She did not need the psychiatrist anymore. Her anxiety is managed by an elderly woman with no medical license. Managed by a respected herbalist whose methods have been effective for generations. So you did substitute licensed medical care with folk remedies? I substituted ineffective treatment with effective treatment. The lawyer smiles like he has won something. No further questions. The judge calls a brief recess. Maya pulls me aside in the hallway. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead, harsh and unforgiving. My hands will not stop shaking. You did well. Stay calm. The girls testify next. What if it is not enough? Then we keep fighting. But Emma, listen to me. That judge is watching Marcus. She sees through him. I can tell. How can you tell? 20 years of practice. The way she looks at him when he talks. Like she is calculating how much of what he says is performance. Trust the process. I watch Sophie and Grace prepare themselves in the women's restroom down the hall. They are dressed carefully. Sophie in a simple dress, her black hair pulled back, hands steady as she checks her reflection. Grace in slacks and a sweater, looking older than 15, breathing slow and deep like Gracie Sullivan taught her. You ready? Sophie asks her sister. Grace nods. We tell the truth. That is all we have to do. They are so brave, braver than I ever was at their age, braver than I am now. Sophie goes first. The bailiff calls her name. She walks to the witness stand with her shoulders back and her chin up, gets sworn in with a voice that does not waver. Maya approaches gently, like Sophie is something precious that might break. She sits in the witness box with her shoulders back and her chin up. Maya asks her questions gently. Sophie, do you want to live with your mother? Yes. Why? Because she saved my life. After Dad left, after the divorce, I was angry all the time, hurting. Mom brought us to the mountain and gave us space to heal. She did not try to fix us. She just gave us room to fix ourselves. Are you happy living in Tennessee? I'm happy for the first time in years. I have purpose. I am learning things that matter. I have a future I actually want. If the court orders you to return to Chicago, how would you feel? Sophie's voice breaks slightly, like I was being ripped away from the only place that ever felt like home. Marcus's lawyer tries to discredit her, suggests she is too young to know what is good for her, that she has been influenced by her mother. But Sophie does not break. I know my own mind. I know when I was drowning and when I learned to breathe again. That is not influence. That is truth. Grace testifies next. She is quieter but no less certain. Grace, you have been diagnosed with anxiety disorder, is that correct? Yes. And you were seeing a therapist in Chicago? I was. It did not help. The medication made me feel numb, but it did not make me feel better. What changed when you moved to Tennessee? I learned about plants, about how to care for living things. Gracie Sullivan taught me that anxiety is not something to fix, but something to understand, to work with. And it helped. I can sleep now, I can eat, I can breathe without feeling like I am drowning. Do you want to stay in Tennessee? More than anything. Why? Because I found myself there. The real me. Not the scared girl who could not leave her room. The girl who grows things, who helps people, who is not broken, just learning. Her voice is so steady, so sure. I have never been more proud. Marcus's lawyer tries to shake her, but Grace just looks at him with those calm eyes and answers every question honestly. Then Victoria takes the stand. I did not ask her to testify. She volunteered. The judge looks skeptical when Victoria gives her name. Emma Mitchell is not just my friend. She is one of the strongest women I know. How did you meet Ms. Mitchell? I tried to force her off her land. I was HOA president. I had debts, pressures, reasons that felt justified at the time. Emma could have destroyed me. She had evidence of trespassing violations, enough ammunition to bankrupt the entire development. Do you know what she did instead? What? She showed me grace. She gave me a chance to do the right thing, to choose integrity over survival. And when I lost everything because of that choice, she took me in, gave me a home when I had nowhere else to go. You are saying she is a good person? I am saying she is the kind of mother who teaches her daughters that strength is not about winning. It is about doing right even when it costs you everything. Those girls are not just happy. They are becoming extraordinary humans because of her example. Marcus's lawyer objects, says Victoria's testimony is irrelevant character evidence. But the judge overrules. I will allow it. When Victoria steps down, she catches my eye, nods once. The judge calls another recess, says she will render her decision after lunch. Those 2 hours are the longest of my life. Maya, Victoria, and I sit in a coffee shop across from the courthouse. I cannot eat, cannot think, can only stare at my hands and pray. It is going to be okay, Victoria says. You do not know that. I know that you are a good mother, that those girls love you, that you have built something real. The judge will see that, unless she does not. Then we appeal. We keep fighting. But I am so tired of fighting, so tired of having to prove that love is enough. We go back to the courtroom. The judge enters, sits, looks at her notes for what feels like forever. Then she speaks. I have reviewed all the evidence and testimony. This is not an easy decision. Both parents clearly love their children. Both want what is best. My heart is hammering so hard I can barely hear. However, the judge looks at Marcus. Mr. Hayes, you have been largely absent from your daughter's lives for the past year. Your concern for their welfare appears recent and, frankly, convenient. You claim Ms. Mitchell is unstable, yet the evidence shows the opposite. Her daughters are thriving. They are engaged in their education. They have strong community ties. They have clearly expressed their preference to remain with their mother. She turns to me. Ms. Mitchell, you have made unconventional choices, but unconventional is not the same as wrong. Your daughters are happy, healthy, and developing into remarkable young women. The court sees no compelling reason to disrupt that. Custody remains with Emma Mitchell. Mr. Hayes' petition is denied. The gavel comes down. I cannot breathe, cannot move. Sophie and Grace are crying. Maya is squeezing my hand. Victoria is laughing. We won. But as we leave the courthouse, I see the envelope Maya is holding. Legal bills, $40,000. More than I have in savings, more than I can pay. We won the battle, but the cost might destroy us anyway. That night, Grace cannot sleep. I find her in my mother's greenhouse at midnight, flashlight in hand, studying the quilts we have hanging there for storage. Baby, what are you doing? These quilts, Grandma's quilts. I've been thinking about them. What about them? Each one has plants embroidered on it. See? She points to a square. Mountain laurel. And here, lady slipper orchid. Here, yellow trillium. They are beautiful. No, Mom, listen. These are not just decorations. These are rare plants, protected species. And look, each quilt has coordinates stitched into the border. I thought they were just decoration, but they are latitude and longitude. My skin prickles. What are you saying? I am saying Grandma made a map. 12 quilts, 12 different sections of her land, each one showing where protected species grow. Why would she do that? Because if there are endangered plants, the land cannot be developed. It is federal law. I stare at my daughter, at my mother's quilts, at the pattern I never saw. How did you figure this out? Gracie Sullivan. She recognized some of the plants, said they only grow in specific microclimates, said your grandmother spent years documenting them. I thought she meant for science. But it was not for science, Mom. It was for protection. We spread all 12 quilts out on the greenhouse floor, traced the coordinates, mapped them against the property surveys. Grace is right. Every quilt corresponds to a parcel of my mother's land. Every embroidered plant marks a protected habitat. Yellow lady slipper orchids, gray bats, Indiana bats, mountain sweet pitcher plants, each one federally protected, each one making the land unsuitable for development. My mother did not just buy land, she bought a fortress, and then she documented every reason it could never be destroyed. I call Maya at 7 in the morning. She answers sounding half asleep. The quilts are maps. What? My mother's quilts. They are documentation of protected species across all her properties. Coordinates, habitats, everything. She created an environmental protection claim that makes the land undevelopable. Emma, that is brilliant. Can you bring them to my office? We spend the next 3 days photographing every quilt, every embroidered detail, every stitched coordinate. Maya contacts the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. They send biologists to verify. The first biologist who arrives is a woman in her 40s named Dr. Sarah Chen. No relation to Sylvia, but they know each other from environmental circles. She carries equipment that looks expensive and complicated, cameras with special lenses, GPS devices, soil testing kits. Show me the quilts, she says. We spread them across my mother's living room floor, all 12 of them. A patchwork archive of protection disguised as domestic art. Dr. Chen kneels beside them, examining each embroidered plant with increasing excitement. This is extraordinary. Your mother documented species distribution with incredible accuracy. See this? Yellow lady slipper, Cypripedium parviflorum, endangered in Tennessee. And here, graybat hibernaculum, Myotis grisescens, federally listed. This alone would trigger Section 7 consultation under the Endangered Species Act. What does that mean? It means any development project that might impact these species requires federal review. The process takes years, costs millions. Most developers give up. She pulls out a tablet, starts marking coordinates on a digital map, compares them to the embroidered numbers on the quilt borders. Your mother was meticulous. These coordinates are accurate to within 10 meters. She must have spent years documenting all of this. She did, Grace says quietly. I found her field notebooks in the greenhouse. 23 years of observations, population counts, habitat assessments, photographs. Dr. Chen looks at my daughter with something like awe. You have the notebooks? Grace nods, goes to retrieve them, comes back with a stack of weathered journals, each one dated and labeled in my mother's neat handwriting. Dr. Chen spends the next hour reading through them. Occasionally, she makes small sounds of amazement. This is publishable research. Your mother was not just an amateur naturalist. She was conducting legitimate scientific documentation. She never told anyone, I say, because she was not doing it for recognition. She was doing it for protection. Dr. Chen stands, brushes off her knees. I need to bring a team, survey the actual sites, verify current populations. This could take 2 weeks. Do it, I say, whatever you need. The team arrives 3 days later. 5 biologists, 2 graduate students, enough equipment to fill 2 vans. They camp on my land with my permission. Spend dawn to dusk surveying every parcel my mother owned. Grace shadows them like an apprentice, learns survey techniques, species identification, population sampling methods, comes back each evening covered in mud and glowing with purpose. Sophie documents everything with her camera, creates a photo series showing the biologists at work, posts updates that generate thousands of shares. The story of a dead woman's secret environmental protection plan captivates people across the country. Victoria watches it all with wonder. Your mother was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. She always did think 10 moves ahead. After 12 days, Dr. Chen calls a meeting in my living room. Her team gathers around with laptops and field notebooks and data sheets. We have confirmed the following. She reads from a tablet. 17 documented populations of state endangered species, 4 populations of federally listed species, 3 critical habitat areas for threatened wildlife, 2 old-growth forest stands that predate European settlement, 1 Class A trout stream with exceptional water quality. What does that mean for development? It means your mother created a biological fortress. Any development within a quarter mile of these resources requires environmental impact statements, endangered species consultations, water quality assessments, and forest management plans. We are talking 5 to 7 years of regulatory review, millions in consulting fees, and even then, approval is not guaranteed. So the resort could never have been built. The resort was dead on arrival. Your mother killed it decades ago. She just did not advertise the fact. I leaned back against the couch, overwhelmed. All those years of quiet work, all those journals filled with careful observations. My mother building protection one plan at a time. There is more, Dr. Chen says. The documentation your mother compiled is so thorough, so scientifically rigorous, that we are recommending several parcels for state natural area designation. Permanent protection. Your conservation easement just became gold standard. Victoria laughs. The sound is slightly hysterical. James spent 2 years planning that resort, hired architects, courted investors, drew up development plans, and the whole time, Catherine was making sure it could never happen. Poetic justice, Maya says. More than that, Dr. Chen adds, what your mother did here, this model of using citizen science to document biodiversity for protection purposes, it could be replicated. We are writing it up as a case study. Other landowners could use the same approach. So my mother is not just protecting this mountain, she is teaching people how to protect theirs. Exactly. That night, I sit alone in my mother's greenhouse, surrounded by her quilts, her journals, her careful documentation of every living thing she loved. The scope of what she accomplished takes my breath away. She knew she was dying, knew she would not live to see me fight this battle, so she armed me for it. Left me weapons disguised as heirlooms, strategy hidden in embroidery, a legacy that looks like craft but functions like law. I find a letter, tuck it into the last journal, dated 3 weeks before she died. Dearest Emma, if you have found this, if you have figured out what the quilts mean, then you are ready to understand the final lesson. Protection is not loud, it is not flashy, it is slow, methodical, relentless work. Every plant I documented, every coordinate I stitched, every journal entry I made, it was all for this moment. For when you would need proof that some ground is worth defending. I cannot be there to fight beside you, but I can give you ammunition. Use it wisely. Use it well. Protect what I protected. Then teach others to do the same. This is how we change the world. Not through grand gestures, but through patient documentation of what matters. One plant, one species, 1 acre at a time. I love you. I am proud of you. Now go save the mountain, Mama. I read it 3 times. Then I fold it carefully and put it in my pocket. Tomorrow, the official verification reports will be filed. The environmental protections will be formalized. Cassandra's resort will be legally impossible. But tonight, I just sit with my mother's work. Let the magnitude of what she built settle into my bones. She saved this mountain, and in doing so, she saved me. But the victory is not complete, because while we celebrate, Cassandra makes her own move. She files a lawsuit against Victoria. Elder abuse. Claims Victoria manipulated James Hartwell during his final illness to secure the company in his will. Seeks to have the will overturned, the company transferred to Cassandra, and Victoria charged with fraud. If she wins, Victoria goes to prison. We are sitting in this cabin when the sheriff serves the papers. Victoria's face goes white. She is taking everything. No, I say, she is trying to. There is a difference. Emma, I do not have money for lawyers. I already lost the company. I have nothing left to fight with. You have us. The book club women mobilize like a military operation. Sylvia organizes the legal defense fund. Diane donates $10,000 from her honey business savings. Gracie Sullivan contacts a tribal council attorney who owes her family a favor. Sophie takes her photography project about mountain women and turns it into a social media campaign. Posts about Victoria's transformation, about women supporting women, about corrupt systems attacking those who refuse to play their games. It goes viral. Within 3 days, we raise $50,000. Within a week, a high-powered attorney from Nashville calls offering to take the case pro bono. She read Sophie's posts, wants to help. The investigation into James Hartwell's business practices takes 2 months. What they find changes everything. James did not just leave Victoria debt. He left a trail of fraud, investors he cheated, contractors he stiffed, environmental violations he covered up, and at the center of it all, Cassandra. She was not just his daughter. She was his accomplice. She knew about the fraud, helped cover it up, benefited from it. The attorney files counterclaims. By the time it reaches court, Cassandra is the one facing criminal charges. The hearing is brutal. Evidence of wire fraud, tax evasion, environmental violations. Cassandra sits at the defense table looking smaller every minute. Victoria takes the stand, testifies about James's final years, how he tried to make amends, how he changed the will to give Victoria the company not as a gift, but as a burden. His way of forcing her to clean up his mess. I did not want the company, Victoria says. I never wanted it. But James knew Cassandra would not do what needed to be done, would not face the consequences, so he left it to me, his final act of cowardice, and maybe his only act of conscience. The judge dismisses all charges against Victoria, refers Cassandra's case to criminal court. She faces up to 10 years. After the hearing, Cassandra approaches us in the parking lot. Her lawyer has abandoned her. She stands alone, looking lost. I am sorry, she says. It is the first time she has said it and meant it. My father taught me that winning was everything. That rules did not apply to us. I believed him. And now I have lost everything. What will you do? Victoria asks. I do not know. Probably prison. Then start over with nothing. Victoria looks at me. I know what she is asking. We have a program, I say slowly, at the conservation land, teaching women about environmental stewardship. When you get out, if you want to learn a different way to live, there is a place for you. Cassandra's eyes fill with tears. Why would you do that? Because someone showed me grace when I did not deserve it. I'm just passing it forward. She nods, cannot speak, just nods. The following month brings news from Pinewood Summit. The HOA board votes to dissolve. Not because they are forced to, because the residents want something different. They form a voluntary cooperative instead. No mandatory fees, no punitive citations, just neighbors helping neighbors. Shared resources, mutual aid. They ask Victoria to coordinate it. She accepts. At the first meeting, she stands in front of 60 residents and says, I was the worst HOA president you ever had. I used rules as weapons. I prioritized control over community. I am sorry. I would like a chance to do better. They give her a standing ovation. That weekend, we have a celebration at the cabin. All the book club women arrive early to help set up. Sylvia brings her famous Korean dumplings. Diane arrives with 3 kinds of honey cake. Gracie Sullivan appears with traditional fry bread and stories to tell. Their families come. Their daughters, granddaughters, sister, friends. The network of women who supported us expands to include the people they love. 60 people crowding onto my porch, spilling into the garden, eating food we grew ourselves. The day is perfect. October sun warm on our faces. Leaves turning gold and red in the mountains. The lake below reflecting the sky like a mirror. Sophie has created a photo exhibition on the porch wall. Portraits of every woman who helped save the mountain. each one labeled with a quote from their testimony or their support. Victoria's transformation series is the centerpiece. Before and after images that show not just physical change, but something deeper. The difference between a woman performing power and a woman embodying it. People gather around the photos, pointing out friends, sharing stories. I hear fragments of conversation. Remember when Victoria first came to book club? How scared she looked, how brave she became. Maya brings her partner, a quiet woman named Jennifer, who works as a trauma counselor. They have been together 12 years, married for 5. Jennifer pulls me aside. What you did here, she says. Building this community of women, it is revolutionary. We just supported each other. That is the revolution. Women learning to lift instead of compete, to share power instead of hoard it. You created a model. I did not create anything, my mother did. You both did. She built the foundation. You built the house. Now look at all the people who have rooms. Grace leads plant walks for the children. A dozen kids between ages 5 and 15 follow her through the garden like she is the Pied Piper. She teaches them the names and uses of herbs, shows them how to identify medicinal plants, tells them about the Cherokee women who first taught these mountain secrets to settlers. One little boy, maybe 7, asks her, "Are you a witch?" Grace laughs. "No, I am just someone who pays attention." "That is what witches do," the boy says seriously. "They pay attention to things other people miss." "Then maybe I am," Grace says. "The good kind, though." Lily shadows Grace, helping with the younger kids. The two of them have developed an easy partnership, finishing each other's sentences. Moving in synchronized rhythm, Sophie photographs them together, catches them in a moment of laughter, golden light haloing their faces. Later, I find Sophie uploading the photos to her laptop, using Diane's Wi-Fi hotspot. Her environmental journalism Instagram now has 40,000 followers. People from across the country following our story. "Mom, look at this." She shows me the comments. Hundreds of women sharing their own fights to protect land, their own battles against developers, their own victories and defeats. "You started something." "No, Grandma did. I am just amplifying it." Robert and Diane arrive together, his hand on the small of her back, her smile soft when she looks at him. They bring news of their own. "We are getting married," Diane announces, "next spring. Here at the cabin, if that is okay with you, Emma." "Of course it is okay. More than okay." "Your mother would want it that place," my father says. "She always said the cabin should be full of life, weddings and babies and celebrations." His eyes get wet. He has been crying more since my mother died. Like grief cracked something open in him, and now emotions leak out that he spent 70 years containing. Victoria finds me by the herb garden as the afternoon light starts to angle toward evening. We stand together, pulling the last of the summer basil, hands moving in companionable rhythm. "I have news," she says. "The cooperative elected me coordinator. Official vote, unanimous." That is wonderful. I know I should not be surprised. We built something real together, but part of me still expects people to remember who I was, to hold my mistakes against me. People remember transformation too. You earned this. She pulls up a handful of basil, holds it to her nose, breathes deep. "A year ago, I was trying to force you off this land. Now I am helping protect it. Life is strange. Life gives us chances to become better. You took yours. 'Cause you gave it to me." We work in silence for a while. The party continues around us. Laughter and music and the sound of children playing. "Emma," Victoria's voice is careful. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you do it?" "Really? You could have destroyed me, taken everything. You had every right." I think about it, try to find words for something I barely understand myself. Because my mother taught me that justice and revenge are not the same thing. Revenge is about making someone else hurt as much as you hurt. Justice is about making things right. You losing everything would not have made anything right. It just would have created more pain. So you chose mercy. I chose accountability with grace. There is a difference. Victoria wipes her eyes. Your mother raised an extraordinary woman. She raised a woman who learned from her mistakes, same as you. That night, as the party winds down and people start to leave, Cassandra appears at the edge of the driveway. She stands in the shadows, uncertain, like she is not sure if she is welcome. Ivy is with her. The girl sees Grace and runs to her immediately. They disappeared into the greenhouse together, Ivy chattering about a bird she saw, Grace listening with the patience of a natural teacher. Cassandra approaches slowly. She looks different, thinner, tired, the expensive suit replaced with jeans and a plain shirt. I heard about the celebration. I was not sure if I should come. You are here now, I say. Join us. I do not deserve to be here. None of us deserves grace. That is what makes it grace. She stands awkwardly for a moment. Then Victoria appears with a plate of food. Sit, eat. You look like you have not had a real meal in days. Cassandra takes the plate with shaking hands. I lost everything. The company, my condo, most of my friends. My lawyer says I am looking at 5 years minimum, probably more. What will you do until trial? I am staying at a women's shelter in Knoxville, working at a coffee shop, trying to figure out how to be a person instead of my father's daughter. That is hard work. Cassandra laughs, but there is no humor in it. I am learning. Ivy is staying with my ex-husband until I get my life together. He was happy to take her away from me, said I was a bad influence. You made mistakes. That does not make you bad. She looks at me with red eyes. Why are you being kind to me? I tried to destroy you. Because someone was kind to me when I did not deserve it. And that kindness saved my life. I am just passing it forward. Later, after Cassandra leaves with Ivy, after the last guests drive away, after the dishes are washed and the garden tidied, I sit on the porch with just my daughters and Victoria. The 4 of us wrapped in quilts my mother made, watching stars appear in the darkening sky. Today was perfect, Sophie says. Grandma would have loved it. She was here, Grace says. I felt her. Me too. Victoria is quiet for a long time. Then she says, I have lived a lot of years, survived a lot of hard things, but I have never felt as much peace as I feel right now, right here, with you 3. You are family now, I tell her, whether you want to be or not. I want to be. We sit in comfortable silence, the mountain around us settling into night, crickets starting their evening song. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls. This is what my mother built. Not just land, not just legal protections, but this feeling of being held, of belonging, of knowing that when you fall, there are hands to catch you. She built it one small act at a time, one plant documented, one woman befriended, one moment of grace extended. And now it holds all of us. Grace leans against my shoulder. Mom? Yeah, baby? I've been thinking about college, about what I want to study, and ethnobotany, traditional ecological knowledge. I want to document what Gracie Sullivan knows before it is lost. Want to teach others. Want to carry on what Grandma started. She would love that. Sophie shifts beside me. I applied to 3 journalism programs, all focused on environmental reporting. I want to tell stories like ours, about women protecting land, about communities standing up to developers, about the power of paying attention. When did you apply? Last month, I got accepted to all 3, full scholarships. Why did not you tell me? I wanted to be sure first. Wanted to make sure we were staying here, that this was really home. Is it home? She nods. More than anywhere has ever been. I pull both my daughters close, feel their weight against me, their breath, their life. A year ago, I was broken. We all were. Shattered by loss and divorce and the cruelty of a world that values money over meaning. Now we are here, on this mountain, in this community, building something that matters. Not perfect, not without pain, but real, true, worth fighting for. Victoria stands, stretches. I should get to bed. Big day tomorrow. The cooperative is starting a community garden. Thought I would volunteer to help organize it. That is wonderful. Your mother's influence, she says. I am learning that dirt under my fingernails feels better than blood on my hands. After she goes inside, I stay on the porch with my daughters. We watch the stars wheel overhead, the ancient patterns that guided travelers before GPS, before roads, before everything got complicated. The North Star steady and true, the Big Dipper pointing the way home. Gracie Sullivan taught us that some things do not change, that underneath all the noise and chaos and cruelty, there is bedrock, truth, beauty, the things that matter. Land, family, community, justice, grace. My mother knew that, lived it, left it for me to discover. And now I am passing it forward. To my daughters, to Victoria, to all the women who will come after. This is the only legacy that matters. Not money, not property, not even the land itself. But the lesson that some ground is worth defending, that protection is not loud but patient, that mercy is stronger than revenge, that women lifting women can change the world. One mountain, one garden, one small act of resistance at a time. The mountain watches, the mountain waits, the mountain remembers. And so, finally, do we. 6 months pass like water flowing downhill, inevitable, natural. The way seasons change when you stop fighting them. The cabin transforms into something my mother might not recognize but would absolutely approve of. The spare bedroom where Victoria still lives has become her sanctuary. Plants on every windowsill, books stacked on the nightstand, a life being rebuilt one small choice at a time. The other guest room now hosts women who come for what we are calling grief retreats. 3 days of gardening, plant medicine workshops, and the kind of quiet that lets you hear yourself think. We charge nothing, just ask that they contribute to the garden if they can. Some bring seeds, some bring stories, some bring nothing but their broken hearts, and that is enough. Grace runs the workshops with Gracie Sullivan. Together they teach what the old woman learned from her grandmother and what my mother learned from the land. How to make tinctures for anxiety, salves for arthritis, teas for insomnia. The ancient knowledge that pharmaceutical companies cannot patent and therefore cannot profit from. The women who come are mostly my age or older. Widows, divorcees, women whose children have grown and moved away, leaving them wondering who they are when they are not needed anymore. They arrive hollow-eyed and leave with dirt under their fingernails and something like hope in their faces. One woman, Patricia, stayed for a week instead of 3 days. Her husband of 40 years had died suddenly. Heart attack while mowing the lawn. She could not figure out how to live in a house that still smelled like him. Grace taught her to grow tomatoes from seed, such a small thing. But watching those seeds sprout, tending them, seeing life persist despite death, it gave Patricia something to get up for. When she left, she hugged me hard and said, "I thought I was coming here to learn about plants. But what I learned is how to be alive again." That is what this place does now, what my mother always intended. It teaches survival that looks like blooming. Victoria thrives in ways that surprise both of us. She completed her Master Gardener certification through the University Extension Program. Now she leads workshops on native plant landscaping, rain gardens, pollinator habitat. The woman who once tried to force conformity through HOA regulations now teaches the beauty of wildness. The Mountain Neighbors Cooperative flourishes under her leadership. They built a community garden on land donated by a farmer who wanted his legacy to feed people. They organize tool sharing, skill swaps, mutual aid. When someone gets sick, the community shows up with meals and help. When someone loses their job, the network finds them work. It is what an HOA could have been if it had been built on community instead of control. Sophie stays close to home for college, attending the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. She deferred her freshman year to work with the Mountain Women Land Trust full-time, documenting our conservation efforts, building our social media presence. Now she balances classes with her photography work. Her Instagram has become a movement, 80,000 followers watching stories about women protecting land across 5 states. She drives home most weekends, says she misses the mountain, the quiet, the garden. But I think she also misses Lily, who stayed here to attend the local community college. They are inseparable when Sophie is home, the kind of friendship that might be something more, though neither of them has named it yet. Grace at 16 is a force of nature, wise beyond her years, patient beyond measure, passionate about preservation in a way that reminds me painfully of my mother. She talks about studying ethnobotany, about documenting traditional ecological knowledge before it is lost to time and development. Gracie Sullivan is training her like an apprentice. They spend hours together recording oral histories, documenting plant locations, preserving wisdom that goes back generations. Last month, they gave a presentation at the State Botanical Conference, the youngest presenter in the event's 40-year history. My daughter stood in front of 100 scientists and spoke about the intersection of traditional knowledge and conservation biology with a confidence I never had at twice her age. Afterward, a professor from the university pulled me aside. "Your daughter is extraordinary. When she applies to our program, tell her to use my name as a reference." The garden itself has become something close to sacred. 3 acres now, expanded carefully to include native plants from every ecosystem in the region. Woodland species, wetland species, prairie remnants, each one labeled with both scientific and common names, along with traditional uses. School groups visit for field trips. Girl Scout troops earn badges learning plant identification. The local homeschool cooperative uses it as their outdoor classroom. We are teaching a generation of children that land is not just property to develop. It is a library of knowledge, a pharmacy of healing, a cathedral of wonder. My mother would be proud. My own life settles into rhythms I had forgotten were possible. I wake with the sun most days, make coffee the old-fashioned way in my mother's percolator, sit on the porch and watch the valley emerge from darkness. Right until mid-morning, working on the sequel to my first book. This one about the women who joined our land protection movement, their stories, their victories. Then I work in the garden, hands in soil, mind quiet, learning the patience my mother tried to teach me 20 years ago when I was too busy building a career to notice. Afternoons I spend teaching or coordinating the grief retreats or managing the nonprofit that the Conservation Land Trust has become. We have protected over 5,000 acres now across Tennessee and 3 neighboring states. Every week brings new inquiries from women who heard our story and want to save their own family land. Evenings belong to my daughters. We cook together, eat together, talk about our days. Then I write again or read or sit on the porch with Victoria, sharing wine and comfortable silence. It is a simple life, a small life by Chicago standards. No corner office, no 6-figure salary, no business cards with gold embossing. But it is mine. And it is real. And that is worth more than any title I ever held. The romance surprises me most of all. I had convinced myself that part of my life was over, that divorce at 42 meant permanent solitude, that I had used up my chance at partnership when I married the wrong man. Then Daniel Reeves showed up to study my mother's rare wildflowers and quietly, carefully, changed everything. He is a botanist from the University of Tennessee. Mid-40s, soft-spoken, more comfortable with plants than people. He arrived in early spring to document the yellow lady slipper population that my mother had protected. Planned to stay a week. Has been coming back every month since. At first it was professional. He needed access to the land. I needed scientific documentation for conservation reports. We would walk the property together, him taking photographs and GPS coordinates, me learning the Latin names of flowers I had known only as beauty. But somewhere between April and June, professional became personal. Small things, the way he noticed when I was tired and suggested we stop for the day. How he brought me coffee in the mornings without asking how I take it, somehow just knowing. The careful way he handled my mother's field journals, like they were sacred texts. We talked while we walked, about his work, about my writing, about the marriages we had both left behind. He had been divorced for 8 years, no children, married young to someone who wanted a different life than he could offer. I was chasing tenure and she was chasing happiness, he said one afternoon. Turns out those are not the same destination. You found your happiness, though, in the work. Some of it. But there is a difference between satisfaction and joy. I am still learning that. We kissed for the first time in late June. In the meadow where the lady slippers grow, surrounded by endangered beauty, he leaned in slow and gentle, giving me every chance to pull away. I did not pull away. The relationship develops with the patience of people who have been hurt before. No grand declarations. No rushing toward labels or futures, just spending time together when he visits. Learning each other in increments. He stays at the cabin now when he comes, in the small room that was once my mother's sewing space. We have dinner together, work side by side in companionable quiet, talk late into the night about everything and nothing. Sophie notices first, corners me in the kitchen one Saturday morning while Daniel is out photographing creek vegetation. So, you and the plant guy. His name is Daniel. You like him. It is not a question, but I answer anyway. I do. Good. You deserve to be happy, Mom. I am happy. I mean with someone, not just alone with your garden. I was not alone. I had you and Grace. You know what I mean. It is okay to want partnership. You are not betraying Dad or Grandma by living your life. When did you get so wise? She grins. I had good teachers. Grace is less direct, but no less observant. She starts including Daniel in her plant walks, teaching him the Cherokee names for herbs alongside the Latin. He listens with genuine interest, asks thoughtful questions, treats her knowledge with respect. One evening, I find them in the greenhouse together, Grace showing him her documentation system for the oral histories she is collecting. This is important work, he tells her. The Academy needs voices like yours. People who understand that science and traditional knowledge are not opposed. They are complementary. Grace beams. Then she looks at me standing in the doorway. I like him, Mom. He sees things right. High praise from my daughter who trusts few people outside our small circle. By August, something shifts. Daniel and I are sitting on the porch after dinner, watching fireflies emerge in the gathering dusk. He reaches for my hand, laces his fingers through mine. I have to tell you something. My stomach tightens. Here it comes, the revelation that will end this before it really begins. I'm falling in love with you. Oh, I know it is fast. I know we are both careful people with good reason to be careful. But I wanted you to know. No pressure, no expectations, just the truth. I squeeze his hand. It is not that fast, and I think I might be falling too. He smiles, kisses my temple. Good, because I was really hoping you would say that. We take it slow anyway. He still lives in Knoxville, still teaches and researches. I still have the cabin and the nonprofit. And my daughters. We see each other when we can, talk on the phone when we cannot, build something steady and real. It is nothing like my marriage to Marcus. No performance, no trying to be someone I am not. Just two people who have lived enough life to know what matters and what does not. One night in September, he asks me about the future. Do you think you would ever want to get married again? I do not know. Maybe, but not because I need to. Just because I want to choose you every day and have the world know it. That works for me. No rush. We have time. And somehow that certainty, that patience, that lack of pressure, it makes me want it more. But before we can think too far ahead, the mountain throws us a challenge we did not see coming. The letter arrives on a Tuesday morning in October. Official state letterhead, Department of Transportation. I read it twice before the words make sense. Proposed highway expansion project. Interstate 40 extension through the mountain corridor. Improved access to rural communities. Economic development. Job creation. And running right through the eastern edge of my conserved land. I call Maya immediately. They cannot do this. I have a conservation easement. The land is protected. Protected from private development, not from eminent domain. The government can override conservation easements if they can prove public necessity. So they can just take it? They have to pay fair market value and show legitimate public purpose. But yes, technically they can take it. I drive into town for the public hearing that night. The community center is packed, farmers in work boots and feed caps, business owners in polo shirts with company logos, young families, retirees, people I know and people I have never seen. The state transportation representative gives a PowerPoint presentation, maps showing the proposed route, economic projections, traffic studies. He talks about job creation, reduced commute times dues, improved emergency access. It all sounds reasonable until he shows the map. The red line cuts through 120 acres of the land my mother spent decades protecting. Through old-growth forest, through wetlands, through habitat for species that exist nowhere else. The public comment period opens. People line up to speak. A farmer stands first. Name is Carl. I have known him from the hardware store. My son lives 2 counties over. Takes me 90 minutes to visit my grandkids. This highway would cut that to 45. I know some folks are worried about the environment, but families matter too. Applause. It's from half the room. A young woman goes next. She works at the hospital. I am a nurse. When there is a medical emergency in the backcountry, it can take an hour for ambulances to reach people. This highway would save lives, real human lives. I know land is important, but people have to come first. More applause, louder this time. Then Victoria stands, walks to the microphone with steady steps. I am Victoria Hartwell. Some of you know me. Some of you know my history with development and what it cost me. I want this highway. My daughter is at college 3 hours away. Better roads would mean seeing her more often. But I also know that some costs are too high, that convenience is not the same as necessity, and that sometimes what seems like progress is just destruction with better branding. The room goes quiet. Emma Mitchell has protected land that my late husband tried to develop, land that contains species found nowhere else on Earth. If we put a highway through it, we do not just lose trees. We lose irreplaceable biodiversity. We lose part of what makes this mountain unique. I'm not saying the highway should not be built. I am saying maybe there is another route, one that creates jobs without destroying heritage. She sits down. The room erupts, half in support, half in anger. I stand up, walk to the microphone. My hands are shaking, but my voice is steady. My name is Emma Mitchell. My mother spent 25 years protecting the land this highway would bisect. She did not do it to be difficult. She did it because she understood something we are forgetting, that not everything worth having can be measured in money or convenience. Someone shouts from the back. Easy for you to say. You do not have to drive 2 hours to see a doctor. You are right, I do not. But I also did not choose where to build my life based on convenience. I chose it based on what mattered, and sometimes what matters is hard, slow, inconvenient. Another voice. So we should all suffer so you can keep your hiking trails? I take a breath, try to find the middle path Sylvia talked about. No, you should not suffer, and I am not asking you to. I am asking if we can find a solution that gives you what you need without taking what cannot be replaced. What if the highway route shifted north by 3 miles? It would still reduce your commute times, still improve emergency access, but avoid the old growth forest and critical wetlands. The transportation rep speaks up. Ms. Mitchell, shifting the route would add 18 months to the project timeline and approximately $40 million in construction costs. How much is an extinct species worth? He has no answer for that. The meeting ends without resolution. They will take comments for 30 days, then make a decision. I drive home in the dark, exhausted and uncertain. Pull into my driveway to find Daniel waiting on the porch. I heard about the meeting, came as soon as I could. I sit beside him, let him pull me close. I do not know what to do. If I fight this, I hurt people who genuinely need better infrastructure. If I do not fight, I betray everything my mother built. Maybe it is not about fighting. Maybe it is about finding the path that honors both needs. How? I do not know yet, but you do not have to figure it out tonight. Over the next 2 weeks, I work with Maya and Daniel to develop a counter-proposal. The northern route I suggested at the meeting. We hire an independent engineering firm to assess feasibility, create detailed maps, project costs, environmental impact comparisons. But it is more than just technical work. It is political, it is personal, it is sitting across kitchen tables from families who need this highway and trying to find common ground. I meet with Carl the farmer at his house. He serves me coffee in a mug that says "World's Best Grandpa" and shows me pictures of his grandchildren. They are growing up without me, he says. I miss birthdays, soccer games, just regular Tuesday afternoons. This highway would give me back time with them. I understand. My daughters are the most important thing in my life too. Then you understand why I need this. I do. But there is a gap between need and method. You need better access. But does it have to come through land that can never be replaced? He is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, my grandfather farmed this land, taught me that some things matter more than convenience. Maybe I forgot that. Got old and impatient. You are not old. You are wise enough to remember what matters. He looks at the pictures of his grandchildren, then back at me. Show me the alternative route, the real one, not some pie-in-the-sky idea. Show me it can actually work. I spend 3 days with Daniel and the engineering firm. We walk the northern route, document every mile, calculate costs down to the foot of asphalt, identify challenges and solutions. The report is 140 pages, professional, thorough, honest about the difficulties and the benefits. I present it to Carl first, then to the hospital administrator who spoke about emergency access, then to the mayor of the nearest town, then to anyone who will listen. Some people embrace it immediately, others push back. The debates get heated. At a town hall meeting, a young mother stands up, voice shaking with emotion. My son has asthma, severe. Last year he had an attack and the ambulance took 40 minutes to reach us, 40 minutes of watching my child struggle to breathe. You want me to wait longer so you can save some trees? I am not asking you to wait longer. The northern route actually improves emergency response times for your area. It is 3 miles closer to where you live than the original proposal. She sits down, says nothing. But her face shows she is listening. Another man, a contractor, objects on cost grounds. $40 million extra dollars. That is coming from somewhere. Either higher taxes or cuts to other programs. Schools, fire departments, are trees worth that? The funding is split between state and federal environmental mitigation funds, Maya explains, not local taxes. This is money specifically allocated for projects that balance development with conservation. But that is still public money that could go elsewhere. True, I say. But what is the cost of extinction? What is the price of losing species that exist nowhere else? How do you quantify that in a budget spreadsheet? He has no answer. Neither do I. Some questions do not have easy answers. The negotiations take 3 weeks. Back and forth, revisions, compromises on both sides. We agree to expedite the timeline by 6 months through innovative construction techniques. They agree to add wildlife crossing structures under the highway. We agree to support local hiring for construction jobs. They agree to permanent conservation protections for the avoided habitat. Everyone gives something. Everyone gains something. The State Transportation Department finally announces their decision at a packed meeting. The Northern Route, 3-mile shift, 42 million additional costs split between state and federal funding, 18-month delay, but also improved emergency access for 3 additional rural communities, 20% more construction jobs, wildlife protections that become a model for future projects. Carl the farmer finds me after the meeting, shakes my hand. Thank you for fighting for this, for fighting for it the right way. We both won. No, we all won. That is the difference. That night, Daniel and I walked the land that was almost lost. Stand in the grove of ancient oaks, trees that were saplings when the Cherokee still called this mountain home. Trees that will stand for centuries more because we found the path that honored both human need and wild persistence. You did it, he says, found the way through. We did it, all of us. That is the lesson, I think. No one saves anything alone. Salvation is collective, community. Women and men of good faith choosing the hard middle path. He kisses me. And in that moment, surrounded by trees that have survived centuries, I feel something close to peace. But there is more. Because the highway fight taught me something crucial. That protection is not about saying no to everything. It is about finding the yes that honors what matters most. That lesson gets tested again 3 months later, when a regional food bank approaches me with a proposal. We have land, the director says. 20 acres donated by a farmer who died with no heirs. Perfect for farming. But we need someone who knows sustainable agriculture, someone who can teach others. We heard about your program. You want to partner? We want you to run it, design a training program, teach people to grow food using methods that heal the land instead of depleting it, pay a salary, full benefits. It is everything I have been moving toward without knowing it. A way to expand the work, to teach more people, to create a sustainable model that could be replicated. But it would mean less time at the cabin, less time in my mother's garden, less time available for the grief retreats and the workshops and the quiet daily tending. I talked to my daughters about it, to Victoria, to Daniel, to the women in book club. What does your gut tell you? Sylvia asks. That I want to do it, but I am afraid of losing what I have built here. Who says you have to lose anything? Maybe you are just expanding. But I cannot be in 2 places at once. Diane speaks up. Catherine ran a garden here for 25 years. She also volunteered at the food bank, taught classes at the library, served on the conservation board. She made space for it all because she understood that growth requires reaching beyond comfortable boundaries. I never knew that about her. She did not talk about it much, just did the work, showed up, served. I take the job, design a 9-month training program for people who want to farm sustainably, teach soil health, crop rotation, integrated pest management, water conservation. Everything my mother taught me and everything I learned since. The first cohort is 12 people, ages ranging from 19 to 67. Some want to start their own farms. Some want to grow food for their families. Some just want to learn. Grace volunteers as a teaching assistant, brings her ethnobotany knowledge, teaches the traditional methods alongside the modern science. Sophie documents the program for Rooted magazine, creates a multimedia series about food sovereignty and land justice. Victoria helps coordinate logistics, manages the volunteer schedule, keeps everything running. We become a team, not just family but colleagues, partners in the work of healing land and people simultaneously. The program succeeds beyond anyone's expectations. By the end of the first year, all 12 participants are growing food. 4 have started small farm businesses. 3 are teaching others. The rest are feeding their families from their own land. The food bank director calls it transformative. The participants call it life-changing. I call it my mother's legacy continuing to bloom. The following spring brings changes that feel both inevitable and miraculous. Grace turns 17, announces she has been accepted to 6 college programs with full scholarships to 4 of them. She chooses the University of Tennessee's ethnobotany program, wants to stay close to the mountain, close to Gracie Sullivan, close to the work she has already started. I am not ready to leave, she says. There is still so much to learn here. You do not have to leave. You can commute from here. It is only an hour. Really? You would be okay with that? Baby, this is your home for as long as you want it. She hugs me hard. Thank you, Mama. It is the first time she has called me that since she was small. Mama instead of Mom. The name that carries weight, history, tenderness. I cry into her hair and do not try to hide it. Sophie graduates with honors, gets job offers from 3 environmental publications, turns them all down. I am starting my own thing, she announces at dinner. Online magazine, long-form environmental journalism focused on community-led conservation. We already have funding from 2 foundations. When did this happen? She grins. I have been working on it all year. Lily is coming on as photo editor. We are calling it Rooted, stories about people protecting place. Your grandmother would love that. I know, that is why we are doing it. Robert and Diane get married on a perfect Saturday in May. Small ceremony on my cabin porch. 20 people. Handwritten vows. Diane wears a simple dress the color of honey. My father wears a suit he bought 40 years ago that still fits. When he promises to love her all his days, his voice breaks. When she promises to walk beside him whatever comes, she cries. I watch my 70-year-old father get a second chance at love and believe, maybe for the first time, that it is never too late to begin again. At the reception afterward, Victoria catches the bouquet. Everyone laughs. She blushes, tries to hand it to someone else. Keep it, Diane says. You never know. I am 56 years old. I am done with romance. Sylvia, sitting nearby, speaks up. I was 62 when I met my partner. Been together 8 years now. Age is not an excuse. It is just a number. Victoria looks at the flowers in her hands, then at Sylvia, then at the gathered women, all of us at different stages of life, all of us still growing. Maybe you are right, she says quietly. Maybe it is not too late. The Catherine Memorial Garden Festival happens the first weekend in June. What started as a small celebration has become an annual event. Women from 5 counties come, some to learn, some to teach, some just to be in community with others who understand that dirt and determination can heal almost anything. This year we expect maybe 80 people. Over 200 show up. They arrive in pickup trucks and sedans, and one ancient VW bus painted with flowers. They bring potluck dishes and sleeping bags, and an eagerness that fills the mountain with energy. We set up workshops across the property: plant identification, seed saving, medicinal herb preparation, traditional food preservation. Each one led by women who learned from women who learned from women, stretching back generations. Grace and Gracie Sullivan lead a walk on Cherokee plant knowledge. 40 people follow them through the woods, taking notes, asking questions, recording the oral history being passed down. I watch my daughter teach with the same patient certainty my mother had, the same gift for making complex things accessible. At one point, she stops by a patch of bloodroot, kneels in the dirt. This plant has been used for centuries, she says. Medicine, dye, but also ceremony. The Cherokee women taught settler women that some plants demand respect. You do not take without asking. You do not harvest without gratitude. The plant knows the difference. An older woman in this group speaks up. My grandmother told me that. Said plants have spirits, that you have to talk to them. Gracie Sullivan nods. Your grandmother was right. Science is starting to understand what traditional knowledge always knew. Plants communicate, warn each other of danger, share nutrients through root networks. They are not passive. They are community. The group moves on, but the woman stays back, touching the bloodroot with reverent fingers. I hear her whisper thank you to the plant before she stands. Sophie and Lily document everything: photographs, videos, interviews, building the archive that will become the foundation for Rooted magazine. They have brought 2 interns from the journalism program. Young women eager to learn how to tell stories that matter. One of them, Maria, pulls me aside during lunch. This is what journalism should be. Not just reporting problems, but documenting solutions. Showing people how to build instead of just analyzing what is broken. That is exactly what we are trying to do. Can I come back after the festival, volunteer? We always need help. She hugs me, hard, then runs off to photograph the bread baking workshop. Victoria coordinates the logistics, manages the volunteers, keeps everything running smoothly. She is in her element, organizing not through control but through facilitation, creating space for others to lead. I watch her help an elderly woman carry supplies to the seed-saving workshop. Listen, as she patiently explains the schedule to a confused newcomer. Notice how she remembers everyone's name by the end of the first day. This is who she was meant to be all along. Not an enforcer of rules, but a builder of community. At the medicinal herb workshop, a woman I do not recognize stands to share her story. My name is Jennifer. I am an oncologist. Western medicine. I came here skeptical. Thought this was all pseudoscience and wishful thinking. She pauses, looks around the circle of women listening. But I have been watching my patients, the ones who combine conventional treatment with herbal support, better outcomes, fewer side effects, and I could not ignore that anymore. So I came to learn. What changed your mind? Someone asks. A patient, breast cancer, stage 3. She used everything we threw at her: chemo, radiation, surgery. But she also used ginger for nausea, turmeric for inflammation, herbs her grandmother taught her. She sailed through treatment with half the side effects of my other patients. And when I asked her why, she said her grandmother told her the poison that heals needs support from the earth, that Western medicine is powerful but incomplete. I realized she was right. We are missing something. This might be it. Gracie Sullivan speaks up. Traditional knowledge and modern science are not enemies. They are partners. We need both. The workshop continues. Women sharing recipes, remedies, research, the boundaries between academic and traditional, scientific and ancestral, dissolving in the shared goal of healing. I slip away to check on the children's program. Find Grace with 20 kids ages 4 to 14. They are making seed bombs, little balls of clay, compost, and wildflower seeds. These are guerrilla gardening tools, Grace explains. You throw them in empty lots, abandoned spaces, places that need beauty. The rain melts the clay and the seeds grow. You are planting hope. The kids are covered in mud and grinning. One little girl, maybe 6, holds up her seed bomb proudly. I'm going to make the whole world beautiful. That is a good goal, Grace tells her. Start with your neighborhood, then keep going. Among the children, I see Ivy, Cassandra's daughter. She is working intently, crafting perfect spheres. When she finishes one, she sets it carefully aside and starts another. Cassandra stands at the edge of the group, watching. When I approach, she wipes her eyes quickly. Thank you, she says again, for letting her be part of this. This is where she belongs. All children belong in gardens. I only have 3 more weeks before I report to prison. I wanted her to have this memory, something good before I go away. She will have more than a memory. Grace will make sure she stays involved. Ivy can come every week if she wants. Cassandra's face crumbles. Why are you being so kind to me? I tried to destroy everything you love. Because my mother taught me that punishment and healing are not the same thing. You will be punished. The legal system will handle that. But Ivy should not be punished for your mistakes. And neither should you be denied the chance to become better. I do not know if I can become better. Neither did I, neither did Victoria. But we are trying. Join us in that. Later, as the sun starts to set, I find myself walking through my mother's garden with Daniel, his hand in mine, the scent of herbs in the evening air, fireflies beginning their slow dance. This is bigger than you expected, he says. Everything is bigger than I expected. The garden, the community, the work, you. He stops walking, turns to face me. I've been thinking about something. What? About us, about the future, about what comes next. My heart speeds up and I love you. I love your daughters. I love this mountain and what you are building here. I want to be part of it, not just visiting. Part of it. What are you saying? I am saying I got a job offer, department chair at UT. I turned it down. Took an associate professor position instead. Fewer hours, more flexibility, so I can spend more time here. With you, if you want that. My throat tightens. You would do that? I already did. Contract signed last week. I move next month. I laugh, cry, kiss him, pull back to look at his face in the fading light. Yes, I want that. I want you here. I want us. Good. Because I already told the girls and they said if you said no, they were going to stage an intervention. You told them first? They are scarier than you are. Plus, I needed their permission. This is their home, their space. I would not move in without them agreeing. And they agreed? Unanimously, Grace said, and I quote, "About time you made an honest man out of him." She did not say that. She absolutely did. We stand there laughing as darkness gathers, the festival winding down, people heading to their cars, calling goodbyes, promising to return. But many are staying. We open the land for camping, 20 tents dot the meadow, campfires beginning to glow in the dusk, the smell of wood smoke and someone playing guitar. This is what community looks like. Not formal, not structured, just people choosing to be together, to learn together, to grow together. Sophie finds us. Mom, we need you for the closing circle. She looks different, thinner, hair shorter, dressed in jeans and a plain shirt. No designer labels, no expensive jewelry, just a woman who has lost everything and is learning to build something new from nothing. The child with her is maybe 9 years old, dark hair and braids, cautious eyes. Her daughter, Ivy. Cassandra sees me watching, hesitates, almost turns back to the car, then squares her shoulders and walks toward the porch. Emma. Her voice is quiet, uncertain. I was not sure if I should come. You are here now. I read about the festival. Thought maybe Ivy could participate, if that is still okay. Of course it is okay. Cassandra's eyes fill with tears. I got 2 years, plea deal, fraud and environmental violations, report to prison next month. I am sorry. Do not be. I deserved worse. She wipes her face. I have been doing the work. Real work. Therapy. Amends. Trying to be a person my daughter can be proud of instead of ashamed. Grace appears beside me. She has been listening, looks at Ivy with the same gentle attention she gives nervous plants. Hi, Ivy. I am Grace. Want to see the butterflies? The girl looks at her mother. Cassandra nods. Go ahead, baby. They walk off together toward the pollinator garden. Grace explaining the life cycle of monarchs. Ivy listening with the hunger of a child starved for beauty and safety. Cassandra watches them go. Thank you for this, for not slamming the door in my face. Everyone deserves a chance to grow. Even people who tried to destroy you, especially them. Hate is easy. Grace is hard. But hard things are usually the things worth doing. She nods, cannot speak. Victoria joins us on the porch, sees Cassandra, stops. The two women look at each other. Stepdaughter and stepmother. Enemies. Survivors of the same man's wreckage. Then Victoria says, there is a workshop on native edibles starting in 15 minutes. Ivy might like it. Thank you, Cassandra whispers. After she walks away, Victoria sits beside me. You are a better person than I am. No, just further along the path. You will get here too. Where? The place where you stop keeping score and start keeping faith. We watch the festival together. Women of all ages learning from each other, passing knowledge across generations, building the networks that will outlast any individual life. This is the only revolution that matters, Victoria says. Women refusing to compete, choosing to collaborate instead. My mother knew that. She did, and now we all do. As the sun starts to set, I find myself walking through my mother's garden with Daniel, his hand in mine, the scent of herbs in the evening air, fireflies beginning their slow dance. I am happy, I say. Actually, genuinely happy. You should be. Look at what you have built. I did not build it. My mother did. She built the foundation. You built the house. There is a difference. We stop by the rose bushes, the ones where Grace found the box of deeds buried, where my mother's strategy was hidden in plain sight. Daniel pulls me close. I've been thinking about something. What? About us, about the future, about what comes next. And I love you. I love your daughters. I love this mountain and what you are building here. I want to be part of it. Not just visiting, part of it. What are you saying? I am saying I got a job offer. Department chair at UT. I turned it down. Took an associate professor position instead. Fewer hours, more flexibility, so I can spend more time here. With you, if you want that. My heart is hammering. You would do that? I already did. Contract signed last week. I laugh. Kiss him. Pull back to look at his face in the fading light. Yes, I want that. I want you here. I want us. Good. Because I already told the girls and they said if you said no, they were going to stage an intervention. You told them first? They are scarier than you are. We stand there laughing as darkness gathers. The festival winding down. People heading to their cars, calling goodbyes, promising to return. Sophie finds us. Mom, we need you for the closing circle. The closing circle is a tradition Grace started last year. Everyone who attended the festival gathers in the main garden. We stand in a circle holding hands. Each person shares one thing they learned, one thing they are grateful for. I learned that garlic mustard is invasive, someone says, and that pulling it is an act of love. I learned that grief is not something to fix, another voice offers, just something to carry with less burden. I learned my grandmother's name for wild ginger, a younger woman shares, and that her name still matters. Around the circle, 60 voices, each one adding to the collective wisdom. When it comes to me, I say, I learned that the things we fight hardest to protect are often the things that save us. Grace speaks last. I learned that roots do not trap, they anchor, and being anchored is how we grow tall. We stand in silence for a moment. Then Gracie Sullivan, the eldest among us at 78, speaks the blessing she has spoken every year. May the mountain remember us. May we remember each other. May the seeds we plant today feed the daughters we will never meet. Everyone echoes, may it be so. The circle breaks, people drift away, but the feeling lingers, the sense of being held, of belonging, of knowing that when you fall, there are hands to catch you. This is what my mother built, not just land, not just gardens, but this web of women who have learned that strength is not about standing alone. It is about standing together. I look around at my daughters, my partner, my friends, my community, at the mountain rising dark against the stars, at the garden that blooms in the darkness. And I think, yes, this is enough. This is more than enough. This is everything. 3 years pass like seasons turning, inevitable, natural, the way mountains wear down and valleys fill with life. I am 45 years old. On the morning I realize something has changed in my body. A subtle shift, a knowing that settles in my bones before my mind catches up. I stand in the bathroom with the pregnancy test in my shaking hands and cannot decide if I am terrified or overjoyed. Probably both. Daniel finds me there 10 minutes later, still frozen, still staring at the 2 pink lines. Emma, his voice is gentle. What is it? I show him the test. Watch his face cycle through shock, confusion, then something like wonder. We are having a baby? Apparently, at 45. People have babies at 45. People who plan to have babies at 45. You said the doctors told you after Grace that it would be difficult. Difficult is not impossible, apparently. He pulls me close, kisses my forehead. Are you okay? I do not know yet. Ask me in 9 months. But as the weeks pass, as my body changes and adapts and does this impossible thing, I find myself becoming okay. More than okay. I find myself grateful in a way I did not expect. My daughters react exactly as I would have predicted. Sophie squeals, literally squeals like she is 16 again instead of 20. Hugs me so hard she lifts me off my feet. Mom, oh my God, this is amazing. Lily is going to die. We are going to be the best big sisters. Grace cries, just stands there with tears running down her face, hands on my barely showing belly. Grandma would love this. She would say it is the mountain giving back. What do you mean? You gave everything to protect this land. Now it is giving you new life. That is how nature works. Reciprocity. Victoria is the most surprised. We are having tea on the porch when I tell her. She sets down her cup carefully. You are pregnant at 45. Turns out I am not as infertile as I thought. And you are happy about this? Terrified, but yes, happy. She is quiet for a long moment. Then she says, I always wanted more children, after Lily and Brandon. But James said we could not afford it, said 2 was enough. I let him decide for me. You could still. You are only 59. She laughs. I am 59 and single and living on a nonprofit salary. That ship has sailed. Maybe. Or maybe different ships come to different ports. You never know what is ahead. The pregnancy is harder than my first 2. My body is older, tired. The morning sickness lasts 5 months instead of 3. My back aches, my ankles swell. I cry at commercials and beautiful sunsets, and the way Daniel looks at me like I am performing a miracle, which I suppose I am. There are days I doubt, days I wake at 3 in the morning with panic clawing at my chest. What am I thinking? I will be 63 when this child graduates high school, 70 when she finishes college. I might not live to see her marry, might not meet her children. Daniel finds me crying in the kitchen one of those mornings, sits beside me without speaking, just holds my hand while I sob out my fears. What if I am too old for this? What if I cannot keep up? What if she needs me and I am gone? He is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, Your mother was 64 when she died. She still changed your life. still left you everything you needed. Age is not the measure of impact. Love is. But what if it is not enough? Love is always enough. You taught me that, remember? The book I am writing, the sequel to my first, gets finished in frantic bursts between doctor appointments and naps. It is about the women who joined our land protection movement. Their stories, their victories and defeats, the collective power of women refusing to surrender what they love. But it is also about something else, about legacy, about what we leave behind when we are gone, about building things that outlast us. I write a chapter about my mother that makes me cry so hard I have to stop working for the day, about how she knew she was dying, but did not let that stop her from planting trees she would never see mature. From protecting land for grandchildren she would never meet. From leaving letters to people not yet born. My editor reads it and calls me immediately. Emma, this is beautiful, raw, real. It is going to make people cry. Good, they should cry. Grief is not the enemy. Avoiding grief is. The chapter becomes the heart of the book, the part everyone remembers, the part that gets quoted and shared and discussed. One woman writes to me, I read your chapter about your mother and realized I have been so busy protecting my children from pain that I forgot to teach them how to live with it. Thank you for reminding me that legacy is not about shielding the next generation, but about arming them. Sophie's documentary about mountain women premieres at a regional film festival in Asheville. 40 minutes of interviews, landscapes, time-lapse footage of the garden through seasons. She captures something ineffable, the spirit of women who refuse to be erased. The Q&A after the screening is standing room only. One person asks Sophie, "What was the hardest part of making this film?" Sophie does not hesitate. "Watching my grandmother die while I was too young to understand what I was losing. This film is my way of finding her again." There is not a dry eye in the theater. She and Lily drive home with an award and news that 3 distribution companies want to talk. The film might go national, might reach audiences beyond our mountain community. But what matters most to Sophie is what she tells me that night. I finally understand why Grandma did what she did, why she documented everything. She knew she could not stay forever, so she left a map, not just of where things are, but of what matters. I am trying to do the same thing, leave a map for whoever comes after. You are, I tell her, and it is beautiful. She and Lily announce their engagement at Sunday dinner with such joy that the whole table erupts in celebration. We drink sparkling cider because I cannot have wine. Toast to love that chooses itself, to partnerships built on seeing each other completely. Grace hugs her sister for a long time, whispers something I cannot hear but makes Sophie cry. Later, Grace tells me what she said. I told her that Mom and Grandma taught us that love does not have one shape, that the courage to be yourself is the greatest gift you can give someone else, and that I am proud of her. My throat gets tight. You are 17 and wiser than I will ever be. I learned from good teachers. The cabin continues its transformation into something my mother would recognize but might not have imagined. Catherine's bedroom, the one where she died, is now a library. Floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with books about ecology, ethnobotany, sustainable agriculture, women's land rights. Her quilts, the ones that were maps, tour museums across the Southeast. People come from 3 states to see them, to understand how one woman protected a mountain by documenting beauty stitch by stitch. The garden is designated a state natural heritage site, official recognition of what my mother built, permanent protection layered on top of the conservation easement. It can never be developed, never be destroyed, never be anything but what it is. A living library, a cathedral of green, a pharmacy that grows in soil instead of laboratories. School groups visit 3 times a week during the school year. Girl Scout troops earn badges learning plant identification. The local homeschool cooperative uses it as their science classroom. We teach a generation of children that land is not property to extract value from. It is community to belong to. My mother's legacy blooms in the faces of children who can name 20 native plants and understand that knowing their names is the first step toward protecting them. Grace at 17 is accepted to graduate programs she has not even applied to yet. Universities recruiting her based on the work she has published with Gracie Sullivan. Papers about traditional ecological knowledge, documentation of Cherokee plant medicine, the intersection of indigenous wisdom and conservation biology. She chooses the University of Tennessee, stays close, says she is not ready to leave the mountain yet, still has too much to learn from Gracie Sullivan before the old woman is gone. Gracie is 77 now, moving slower, breathing harder, but her mind is sharp and her knowledge is deep, and Grace follows her like a devoted apprentice, recording everything. They are writing a book together, Traditional Plant Medicine of the Southern Appalachians. Grace does the academic research. Gracie provides the oral history. Together, they create something that bridges worlds. One afternoon, I find them in the greenhouse. Gracie teaching Grace how to make a tincture for heart health. The old woman's hands shake as she measures hawthorn berries into a jar. "You have to talk to the plant," Gracie says. "Tell it what you need. Ask permission. The medicine is stronger when it is made with respect." "Does that actually work?" Grace asks. "The asking permission part?" Gracie smiles. "Science cannot measure respect, but healers have known for thousands of years that intention matters, that how you approach medicine changes how it works. Your grandmother understood that. She knew you? Everyone knew Catherine. She was quiet, but she was everywhere, learning, documenting, protecting. When I met her 40 years ago, she asked me to teach her about plants, said she wanted to preserve knowledge that was disappearing. I thought she meant for herself. Turns out she meant for you." Grace is crying. "I wish I remembered her better. I was so young when she died." You remember her in your bones, in the way you move through the garden, in the patience you have with plants. That is memory too. I slip away before they see me. Let them have this moment of teaching and learning, and the transfer of wisdom that does not require words. Victoria thrives in ways that amaze both of us. She completes her graduate degree in environmental studies. At 59, she is the oldest in her program and earns the highest grades. Her thesis is about community-based conservation, how neighborhoods can protect land through cooperation instead of regulation. It is published as an academic paper, then picked up by a national land trust organization. Now she travels giving talks, teaching other communities how to transition from enforcement to empowerment. The irony is not lost on either of us. The woman who once wielded HOA rules like weapons now teaches the power of letting go of control. She starts dating, carefully, tentatively. A retired librarian named Patricia who volunteers at the garden every week. They go to dinner, take long walks, hold hands like teenagers discovering touch for the first time. I love watching them together. Two women in their late 50s finding partnership after loss, proving it is never too late to begin again. Daniel moves into the cabin completely 6 months before the baby is due. We do not get married. Not legally, not with papers and officials and legal binding. Instead, we have a ceremony in the garden on an October evening when the leaves are turning gold. 20 people, handwritten vows, no officiant, just us promising each other what we already know to be true. I will stand beside you through seasons changing. I will tend this land and this love with equal care. I will remember that growth requires patience, and patience requires trust. We exchange rings made from wood Daniel carved himself. Mine has a quote from my mother's journal etched inside. "Protection is patient work." His has my words etched inside. "Some roots anchor instead of trap." It is not legal marriage, but it is real, and real is what matters. The pregnancy advances. My body swells and aches and performs miracles. At 6 months, I can no longer see my feet. At 7 months, I cannot sleep. At 8 months, I am enormous and exhausted, and more in love with this life growing inside me than I knew was possible. We decide on a home birth, the same room where my mother died, where life left and now will return. Gracie Sullivan knows a midwife, an older woman named Mary who has delivered 300 babies in these mountains. She comes for a consultation, examines me with gentle hands, listens to the baby's heartbeat with a wooden stethoscope her grandmother made. "Strong baby, strong mother. We will do this the old way if you want. At home, with women. I want." The weeks before the due date feel like waiting for a storm you know is coming but cannot see yet. I nest, clean the cabin, organize baby clothes donated by book club women, read my mother's journals looking for wisdom about motherhood. I find an entry from when I was born. "Emma arrived today, 7 pounds, 10 fingers, 10 toes, lungs that work perfectly as evidenced by her screaming. I held her and understood for the first time what it means to love something more than yourself, to be willing to die protecting something, to build a life around keeping someone safe. I will give her everything, this mountain, this garden, this knowledge. But most importantly, I will give her the freedom to choose her own path, even if that path leads away from here, even if it breaks my heart. Because that is what real love does. It holds on and lets go simultaneously. I cry reading it, put my hand on my belly, feel the baby kick. Okay, little one, I get it now. The labor starts on a Tuesday morning in early April. Not dramatic, just a tightening, a knowing, a sense of things beginning. I tell Daniel, call Mary the midwife, send messages to my daughters, to Victoria, to the women who have promised to be there. By noon, the cabin is full of women. Mary with her supplies, Gracie Sullivan with her herbs, Diane with honey and bread, Sylvia with prayers, Victoria with steady hands and a calm presence. My daughters do not leave my side. The labor is long, 16 hours, painful in ways I do not remember from before. My body is older, less flexible, but also stronger, more certain. Mary talks me through each contraction, tells me when to push and when to breathe and when to rest. Gracie Sullivan makes teas that ease the pain without eliminating it, reminds me that some pain is purposeful, that bringing life into the world requires opening yourself completely. Sophie holds one hand, Grace holds the other. Daniel sits behind me, supporting my weight, whispering encouragement. You are doing it. You are so strong, almost there. At 3:47 in the morning on a Wednesday, the baby is born. A girl, perfect, healthy, screaming with the outrage of new life. Mary places her on my chest. I feel her warmth, her weight, her life. Welcome, I whisper. Welcome to the mountain. Grace cuts the cord with hands that do not shake. Sophie cries. Daniel kisses my sweaty forehead. The room full of women sings an old song about mothers and daughters and the circles that never break. We name her Catherine Grace Mitchell Reeves. Catherine for my mother, Grace for my youngest. Mitchell Reeves because she belongs to both of us. The naming ceremony happens when she is 2 weeks old. A Saturday afternoon in late April, when the mountain laurel is just beginning to bloom, the same flowers my mother loved. 60 women gather in the garden, 3 generations, ages ranging from 20 to 78. We stand in a circle around the blanket where baby Catherine sleeps. Gracie Sullivan speaks first, performs a blessing in Cherokee that her grandmother taught her, words about welcoming new life, about the responsibility of community to raise children together, about teaching the next generation to walk gently on the earth. Then each woman steps forward with a gift. Diane brings honey from the hive we call Catherine's hive, descended from bees my mother tended 20 years ago, for sweetness in her life, for understanding that we are all connected to what came before. Sylvia brings a book, first edition of Wild by Cheryl Strayed, the book we were reading in book club when my mother died, for courage to walk her own path, for knowing that loss can be the beginning of found. Victoria steps forward with a small wooden box. Inside is a silver bracelet. This was James's mother's, the only piece of his family history that did not carry debt or shame, for remembering that we can choose what we inherit. That legacy is not fixed but made. Grace and Sophie present the quilt they have been making in secret. I had no idea they were working on it. It is beautiful. Each square different but harmonious, a patchwork of love. Grace explains. Each square was made by a different woman. Everyone who has been part of our journey. Your square, Mom. Victoria's square. Diane's. Sylvia's. Gracie's. Even mine and Sophie's. They unfold it, spread it on the ground so everyone can see. Emma's square shows Catherine's roses. Victoria's square has healing hands reaching toward each other. Sylvia's square depicts an open book. Diane's square is a honeycomb. Grace's square features mountain laurel. Sophie's square has a camera lens. Gracie Sullivan's square shows a medicine wheel. There are more. 12 squares total. 1 for each month of the year. 1 for each woman who helped raise this child before she was even born. Sophie speaks. This quilt is a map, like Grandma's quilts, but instead of documenting plants, it documents people. Every woman who will help raise Catherine. Every hand that will hold her. Every voice that will teach her. Grace continues. Grandma knew that children are raised by communities, not just mothers. She built that community. We are it, and this quilt is proof. I cannot speak, can only cry and nod and hold my baby closer. The ceremony ends with singing, old hymns, new songs, voices blending in the spring air. As the women drift away, hugging goodbye, promising to return, I sit on the porch with baby Catherine, Daniel beside me, my father and Diane in rocking chairs, Sophie and Lily on the steps, Grace and Victoria in the garden cutting flowers. My father speaks, voice rough with emotion. Your mother would have loved this day. She is here, in everything, in everyone. He nods. I know. I feel her sometimes, in the wind chimes, in the way the light falls across the garden, in Grace's laugh. Grace has her laugh? Identical. He wipes his eyes, makes an old man cry every time I hear it. Diane takes his hand, squeezes. You are allowed to cry. I know, I just do it more now than I used to. Getting soft in my old age. Not soft, human. Baby Catherine starts to fuss. I nurse her there on the porch while the sun sets over the mountains. The most natural thing in the world, the most miraculous. Daniel watches us with quiet wonder. You are amazing. You know that? I am tired. That is what I know. Tired and amazing can coexist. That night, after everyone leaves, after the baby is fed and sleeping, I find myself in my mother's greenhouse, the place where she worked for 25 years, where she documented and dreamed and built protection plant by plant. I am looking for something, a letter, a sign, some final wisdom from her about how to do this, how to raise a daughter in a world that will try to break her, how to teach her to be strong without hardening her, how to give her roots that anchor instead of trap. I find it tucked into the last journal, the one she wrote in the week before she died, an envelope with my name on it, and another envelope inside labeled for my granddaughter when she is born. My hands shake opening the first letter. Dearest Emma, if you are reading this, you have had a baby. Maybe not the baby you expected, maybe later than you planned, but a baby nonetheless. Welcome to the sacred work. You asked me once, when you were pregnant with Sophie, how to be a good mother. I told you there is no such thing, only mothers who keep trying. Mothers who forgive themselves when they fail. Mothers who understand that raising humans is messy and hard, and the most important work in the world. Here is what I want you to know. You will make mistakes. You will lose your patience. You will doubt yourself daily. You will feel inadequate constantly. This is normal. This is motherhood. But you will also witness miracles. You will see a personality emerge from nothing. You will watch someone learn language, learn walking, learn that they are separate from you. You will realize that the greatest gift you can give your child is not protection, but preparation. Not shelter, but strength. Teach her about this mountain, about the plants and animals and cycles of life and death. Teach her that everything is connected, that her choices ripple outward, that she is part of something larger than herself. Teach her to be gentle with the earth and fierce with those who harm it. Teach her that power used wisely creates beauty, that mercy is not weakness, that she can be both soft and strong. Most importantly, teach her that she does not have to choose between roots and wings, that women who are deeply rooted can still fly. I built this mountain sanctuary for you. You are building it for her, and she will build it for whoever comes next. This is how legacy works, not through grand gestures, but through daily choices to tend what matters. I love you. I am proud of you. Now go raise the next generation of mountain women. Mama. I read it 3 times. Then I opened the letter for my granddaughter. It is shorter, simpler. Dear little one, you will never meet me, but I have known you all your life. I planted trees for your shade. I saved land for your freedom. I taught your mother and your grandmother so they could teach you. When you are old enough to understand, ask them about the mountain. They will tell you that mountains do not move, but the women who live on them, we are water. We carve canyons. We nourish roots. We wear down stone with patience and persistence. You are born into a line of strong women. Wear that strength with grace. Use it to lift, not crush. Extend hands, not claws. And remember, the mountain will always call you home, with love from the past to your future. Great-grandmother Catherine. I sit in the greenhouse surrounded by my mother's life work and cry, for missing her, for gratitude, for the impossible gift she gave me, this land, this community, this knowledge, this chance to raise a daughter who will never know scarcity of love or beauty or belonging. Daniel finds me there an hour later, sits beside me on the floor, reads the letters, cries with me. She knew, he says. Somehow she knew. She always knew. That was her gift, seeing what was coming and preparing for it. The next months unfold like chapters in a book I did not write, but am learning to read. Baby Catherine grows, learns to smile, to recognize voices, to track movement with eyes that see the world for the first time and find it endlessly fascinating. She is an easy baby in some ways, sleeps in 3-hour stretches, nurses without fuss. But she is also alert in a way that feels almost uncanny, watching, learning, taking everything in. When she is 3 weeks old, I carry her through the garden, point to flowers and name them. She is too young to understand words, but her eyes follow my finger, track the colors, some ancient part of her brain cataloging beauty. This is your great-grandmother's garden, I tell her. She built it for you, for all of us, but especially for you. Grace comes with us on these walks, teaches her baby sister the same way Gracie Sullivan taught her, with patience, with respect, with understanding that learning is not about speed but about depth. Look at the bee, Grace says, holding Catherine close to a lavender bloom. See how it collects pollen? It is not stealing, it is partnering. The flower gives, the bee gives. That is how the world works when we do it right. Catherine's eyes go wide. She makes a sound, not crying, something else. Wonder, maybe. She understands more than we think, Grace says. Babies always do. Sophie documents everything. Thousands of photographs. Video of Catherine's first smile, her first laugh, the first time she reaches for something and actually grasps it. I am building her an archive, Sophie explains. So when she is older, she can see how loved she was, how many women held her, how much community raised her. The archive becomes part of Rooted magazine, a running feature called Raising Catherine, monthly updates about how we are teaching this child about the earth, about community, about legacy. Subscribers love it, send letters, share their own stories about teaching children to love the land. The feature becomes the most popular section of the magazine. One letter particularly moves me, from a grandmother in Oregon. I raised my children in the city. Concrete and cars and convenience. They are good people, but disconnected from the earth. Your daughter Catherine will grow up knowing things my grandchildren may never learn. Thank you for showing us it is possible. We are moving to land next month, starting our own garden, teaching the babies where food comes from. You gave us permission to try. I read that letter to baby Catherine. She is 4 months old, lying on a blanket in the garden, kicking her legs, grasping at air. You are changing the world already, I tell her, just by being loved out loud. Grace graduates high school as valedictorian, gives a speech about traditional ecological knowledge and why the future belongs to those who remember the past, gets a standing ovation. But what moves me most is what she says at the end. My great-grandmother Catherine taught my grandmother Emma that mountains do not move through force. They move through patience, the patient work of water-wearing stone. I am water. My baby sister is water. The girls who come after us will be water, and we will carve canyons, not through destruction, but through persistent, patient love. The entire audience is crying by the time she finishes. Afterward, a teacher pulls me aside. That is the best graduation speech I have heard in 30 years. Your daughter is extraordinary. She learned from an extraordinary woman. So did you. Sophie's magazine Rooted reaches 10,000 subscribers, then 15,000, then 20. She and Lily hire 2 full-time staff members, rent an office in Knoxville, build something bigger than either of them imagined. But they stay grounded. Come home every weekend, work in the garden, hold baby Catherine, remember where they came from. One Saturday evening, Sophie is on the porch with Catherine. The baby is fussy. Nothing helps. Then Sophie starts singing, an old lullaby my mother used to sing to me. Catherine immediately calms, stares at Sophie's face. Her tiny hand reaches up, touches Sophie's cheek. Sophie looks at me with tears in her eyes. How did I know that song? I do not remember learning it. Mom sang it to you. When you were little, before the divorce, before everything fell apart. You do not remember, but your body does. Memory is strange like that, living in places we cannot name. My book is published, climbs bestseller lists, not because it is perfect, but because it tells truth people need to hear. that protecting what we love is possible, that women working together can change the world, that the opposite of extraction is not just conservation, but regeneration. The launch event is at an independent bookstore in Knoxville. 200 people packed into a space meant for 50. I read the chapter about my mother, about her death, about finding the letters she left, about understanding that legacy is built in quiet moments of daily tending. During the Q&A, a woman raises her hand. She is maybe 70, weathered face, farmer's hands. I lost my land to foreclosure 10 years ago. Developers turned it into a shopping center. I thought I had failed my ancestors, failed everyone who came before. But your book made me realize I can still protect land, just different land. I volunteer at a community garden now, teaching kids to grow food. It is not the same, but maybe it is enough. Her voice breaks on the last word. I step off the small stage, walk to where she is sitting, kneel beside her chair. It is not just enough, it is everything. You are passing on knowledge, building community, teaching the next generation to love the earth. That is the work. That is the legacy. Your ancestors are proud. We hold each other and cry while 200 people watch in silence. Afterward, the bookstore owner tells me she sold every copy. Can she order more? I do interviews from the cabin porch with baby Catherine on my lap. She is 5 months old now, sitting up with support, grabbing everything, putting everything in her mouth. Journalists ask how I balance motherhood and activism. I tell them there is no balance, just integration, just refusing to separate the personal from the political, just understanding that raising a daughter to love the earth is the most radical activism there is. One interviewer, a man in his 60s, looks at Catherine with something like longing. I wish I had understood this when my kids were young. I was too busy working, providing. Now they are grown and I barely know them. They barely know the land their grandfather farmed. It is not too late. Call them. Invite them to visit. Plant a garden together. Legacy is not about the past. It is about what we do today. He writes a follow-up article about our conversation, about how my book made him realize he still has time. He is starting a community orchard with his grandchildren, teaching them to prune, to graft, to tend. The article goes viral, thousands of shares, hundreds of comments from people saying they are inspired to reconnect with land, with family, with what matters. Victoria gets a job offer, regional director for the Appalachian Women's Land Trust. Salary, benefits, respect, the recognition she always deserved. She accepts, moves her relationship with Patricia from casual to committed. They buy a house together near the cooperative's office. A small craftsman bungalow with a big backyard they immediately turn into a garden. Victoria brings Patricia to the cabin for dinner the weekend before they move. Patricia is quiet, thoughtful, a retired librarian who loves books the way Victoria loves land. After dinner, Patricia pulls me aside. I want to thank you for showing Victoria there is life after devastation, for teaching her that losing everything can be the beginning of finding yourself. She talks about you like you saved her life. We saved each other. That is what community does. Still, you could have destroyed her. You had every reason, every right, but you chose grace instead. The world needs more of that. At Victoria's going-away party, I give her my mother's favorite gardening hat, the wide-brimmed straw one she wore every summer for 20 years. Faded now, sweat-stained, perfect. Catherine would want you to have this, I say. You have become what she always saw in you, a protector, a leader, a woman who chooses grace. Victoria cries, hugs me, whispers, "Thank you for not giving up on me." I never gave up. I just waited for you to stop giving up on yourself. She holds the hat like it is sacred, puts it on. It fits perfectly. I feel her, Victoria says. Right now, I feel Catherine, like she is here, approving. She is, always. Baby Catherine is 6 months old when we hold the garden party, the event that will close this chapter of our lives and open the next. Sophie and Lily announce their engagement date. Next June, here in the garden. They want Gracie Sullivan to officiate, want the mountain to witness their vows. Grace announces her early acceptance to doctoral programs. She is choosing UT, staying close. Says Gracie Sullivan has maybe 5 good years left, and she is not missing them. Victoria announces she is writing a memoir about her journey from HOA tyrant to conservation advocate, about how losing everything can be the beginning of finding yourself. She has a publisher interested, wants to call it The Second Mountain, about climbing again after falling. The afternoon sun slants golden through the trees. Baby Catherine sits on a blanket, watching everything with wide eyes, learning faces, learning voices, learning that she is surrounded by love. I pick her up, carry her through the garden, show her the plants her great-grandmother protected, tell her their names, common and scientific, tell her why they matter. This is bloodroot. Its sap is red like blood. Cherokee women used it for dye and medicine and ceremony. Your great-grandmother documented it for protection, so people like me could teach people like you to care. Baby Catherine grabs a leaf, tries to eat it. I gently redirect her hand. Not yet, little one. First you learn to look, then you learn to touch, then you learn to use. Respect comes before harvest. Daniel appears beside me, puts his arm around my waist, looks at our daughter with wonder that has not faded since her birth. What are you teaching her? Everything, nothing, how to see. That seems ambitious for a 6-month-old. We start early in this family. He laughs, kisses my temple. I love you both so much it terrifies me. Love is supposed to terrify you. That is how you know it is real. As the sun sets, we gather on the porch, all of us, 3 generations of women, the men who love us, the children who will carry this forward. Someone starts singing, an old song my mother loved, simple, pure, about mountains and memory and the things that last. Voices join, harmonize, fill the valley with sound. Baby Catherine stops fussing, turns her head toward the music. Her eyes focus on something I cannot see. Maybe the mountains, maybe the sky, maybe something beyond what any of us can perceive. Then she smiles, her first real social smile, not gas, not reflex, deliberate, joyful, a response to beauty. Everyone laughs, cries, celebrates this tiny miracle of connection. I hold her close, breathe in her smell, baby and milk and promise. You are going to change the world, I whisper. Not by being loud, not by being big, but by being rooted, by knowing where you come from, by protecting what your great-grandmother built, by teaching the next generation to do the same. The singing continues. The sun drops behind the mountains. The valley fills with purple light. This is what my mother built. Not just land, not just gardens, not just legal protections, but this gathering, this community, this web of women who have learned that the things you protect most fiercely are often the things that save you. I look around at the faces I love, my daughters, my partner, my father and his new wife, the women who became family by choice, the mountain that holds us all. And I understand finally what my mother was teaching me all along, that home is not a place, it is a practice, a daily choice to tend what matters, to protect what you love, to pass on wisdom like seeds, trusting that even after you are gone, something beautiful will grow. Baby Catherine falls asleep in my arms, her breathing slow and steady, her tiny fist curled against my chest, her whole life ahead of her. I will not be here for most of it. I am 45. She will be young when I am old, young when I am gone. But I will do what my mother did. I will leave her more than property. I will leave her knowledge, community, a mountain that remembers. The mountain watches, the mountain waits, the mountain remembers. And now, finally, it has a new Catherine to teach, a new generation to protect, a new circle beginning. Somewhere in the darkness, wind chimes sing, the ones my mother hung 30 years ago, the ones that have outlasted her, the ones that will outlast me. Their song carries across the valley, not sad, not lonely, just persistent, patient, present. The way mountains are, the way water is, the way love is when you build it right. I close my eyes, hold my daughter, feel the solid earth beneath my feet, the faithful friends beside me, the future in my arms. This is enough. This is more than enough. This is everything. For all the mothers who teach us to bloom where we are planted. For all the daughters who learn that roots do not trap, but anchor. For all the women who understand that mountains do not move through force, but through the patient work of water-wearing stone. We are water. We are mountain. We are the legacy and the future simultaneously. And the mountain remembers us all.